Salutations, everybody. It is Matty here today, and welcome to week 94 of the H.A.M Radio Podcast.
And it is me, the Lone Vault. Oh, Karak, see what happens? We go 2 weeks.
That's exactly what happened. You left, and we were going to kick you off. Go ahead.
We're not stopping recording. That's fantastic. So I'll apologize because I was away on holiday on vacation for 2 weeks. So my name's the LoneVaultWanderer, Karak. I apologize.
I'm Karak with ACG. There's no reason to apologize, man. It's awesome.
That's great.
Yeah.
Every week we'll fight over who goes second.
Oh, that's what we should do. Every single week, we're just going to both be like, finish, Matty. I'm going to go before Matty next time.
Yeah, someone to start off the podcast for me.
That would be awesome.
Anyway, for those who want to listen on the go, there will be links in the description down below. Feel free to click on them. As always, if you want to become a part of the podcast itself, consider supporting the Patreon. The link for that will be in the description down below. And we have a lot of exciting news to talk about. Well, it's weird because we've been talking about general gaming news a lot throughout the past couple of weeks on the podcast. And when we were looking for news this week, we're so focused on that generalized news that we're like, man, this week it was like Bethesda and Obsidian on and off, just making rounds. So let's start off with what I thought, me personally, I found the most exciting was the Morrowind expansion for Elder Scrolls Online. Now, I am going to be extra, and I'm going to read part of the Bethesda Net post that came with the announcement of this, because it does come with a lot of details that I think could be overlooked. So this is set, Karak, you were asking this, roughly 700 years before the events of Elder Scrolls 3. Okay. So you're going to see familiar locations and stuff, such as Vivek City, but obviously there's going to be a different look and feel in certain ways, considering the fact that it was so early. Anyway, they say, with the largest landmass addition to date, a brand new player class, and an intense new PvP mode, I can't read. The Elder Scrolls Morrowind is both the perfect entry point for new players and a great way for veterans to continue their journey. Those who have already joined the Elder Scrolls Online can simply upgrade their experience and immediately jump into the new chapter. And thanks to the one Tamriel update from last October, new players can also sail directly into Morrowind and play with other adventurers of all levels. I love how they're handling this game, man. I gotta be honest.
One Tamriel is amazing.
Yeah, I gotta be honest. So the Elder Scrolls Online Morrowind also includes all the original ESO content. So what I'm gathering from this, and I actually didn't know this because this is my first time really reading all this information, is that you can, when you buy Elder Scrolls Online Morrowind, you're getting the base game as well. Anyway, new players will have access to hundreds of hours of excitement throughout Tamriel when Morrowind launches on June 6th. Existing players can choose to carry their characters over to Morrowind or start a fresh new adventure with a brand new face. And you might indeed want to give a new character a go, as Morrowind introduces the first new class since the original ESO was launched, which is actually quite shocking because that was like 4 years ago. The new Warden class wields powerful nature-based magic, and true to the Elder Scrolls franchise, can be customized with a number of abilities to suit your playstyle. Explore the island of Vardenfell and charge headfirst into battle, knowing your Warden's ferocious warbear always has your back. Morrowind also introduces a new PvP mode for you to check out. Head over to the Ashlands to take on fellow players in epic 4v4v4 battles in arena-like environments. Now, I like that because I don't like the PvP in ESO. I think it's a little too chaotic. It's a little too much of a tug of war where it's just like, what team's going to be stupid first? Anyway, prove your might as a warrior and claim your spot in the annals of Tamriel's history.
Annals, that's great.
I saw one.
This podcast has started out awesome.
It's so suddenly popular all of a sudden.
Why is this game so fucking popular?
4 editions of Morrowind will be available at launch. Oh my. Standard, Upgrade Edition, Digital Collector's Edition, and Collector's Edition. Get all the details with what's included here. And you can see an exclusive Warden costume, an exclusive War Dog pet, treasure maps, crown crates, experience scrolls. What comes with the Collector's Edition, though? That's my question here. Digital Collector's Edition. What's the Collector's Edition? Naryu's Journal, a full-color, large-format book chronicling Morag Tong assassin Naryu's pursuit of a conspiracy across Tamriel. A Dwarven Colossus statue. That's pretty cool. Map of Morrowind, cool. And an exclusive game case. Oh, man, exclusive game case. That cracks, when they say that cracks me the fuck up. If that's the case, then every fucking case is exclusive. But yeah, all right. So that's the general breakdown of Elder Scrolls Morrowind. What are your thoughts on it? Or online Morrowind? I apologize.
I don't know, man. It's just not something that's going to get me back into it again. I think this, to be honest, the ship has sailed for people that haven't gotten into SO to get back into it. I was speaking to someone the other day about, and this is kind of related, but just about how esports games operate and how they, for example, Overwatch, or even when you look at League of Legends, they get really popular. They have a big peak, then they'll drop off a little bit, and then they'll get new content or something. Then they'll get a little bit of a push back up, and that'll happen a couple of times. But eventually, there'll be a down period, and I think eventually or soon, maybe SO is going to reach that time where new people aren't just getting into the game. Maybe you'll have people that have already played it get back into it, that have enjoyed it. But I can't see this enticing anyone new. Like, if one Tamriel didn't really get a big surge of new SO plays, I don't think this will.
I think one Tamriel did, though.
But how big, though? Like,
I'm
people
not sure,
still...
but from the sounds of it, I mean, this game... I mean, I'm not viewing this based off interest. I'm just saying, though, is that you can tell there's a more positive reception to the game. I mean, you remember when ESO videos used to come up, people would just mass dislike it. They're like, fuck this. And now... It's way more of a positive reception where people are like, all right, yeah, let's go, ESO. That is true. This is actually some good shit now.
So you guys are actually both right, especially like Lone talking about, most of the time a MMO passes its like freshness date, right? Mm-hmm. But Division proves that's not correct for everyone. Division has exploded in numbers. So when I say exploded, I mean comparatively. And with upgrades and updates, in particular DLC, it's seen some pretty massive things. I think Morrowind is sort of a gray area because it's so popular, and it wasn't in ESO, which I think people wanted. And so the idea of like adding Morrowind, I know a lot of people even on my channel who were like, okay, I'm gonna check out ESO now. Mm-hmm. So Morrowind's sort of a gray area because I would say amongst fans, it's considered one of the best games.
Yeah,
I would think, isn't it? I would think everybody I know thinks that's one of the best ones, if not the best one.
Yeah, I'd say that. It's usually a pretty big tear between Morrowind and Oblivion, it seems.
Right.
That seems to be the choice. I'd lean, even as someone who hasn't played a lot of it, I'd probably lean towards Morrowind because I think that offers a lot more of the role-playing aspect. I mean, the dialogue trees and stuff in that game are insane.
I was going to bring up the negative in one way. It's not Morrowind, which I asked Maddie prior to the podcast. It's just the land. And so I'm like, we're doing Morrowind. Yeah, no, you're not.
That was going to be my question, was that do you think this is going to be Bethesda's response to people asking for Morrowind HD, in a way? That was my first thought when I saw the rumors of Vardenfell coming to ESO. I was like, a lot of people have been asking for a Morrowind HD because of Skyrim Special Edition. I'm not saying this is something you just whipped together in the past couple of months because Skyrim Special Edition came out in October. I think they've been working on this for a while. But I'm just saying that I'd imagine they have people who plan ahead, who anticipate this type of reaction. They're like, okay, we're doing Skyrim Special Edition. People are going to want more remasters. Did they maybe view this also as a response to that? Because I think to a degree they did. They're going to say, if you want to go back to Morrowind, why don't you check this out? And point more players in the direction of ESO.
I agree. Yeah. I agree. Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if in the initial conversations they knew that it would have had this kind of nostalgic feel to it. But at the end of the day, it is, as Karak said, really just the setting. And I'm not a big fan of Morrowind myself, but I feel that I could be like, I'll play Morrowind for a little bit, but it might not have that same feeling as if I was playing the actual game compared to a HD version. I might like
this version better, if you do go back to it. It may people who... I may even like it more than Morrowind originally, but I think you're right. Yeah, it's just the land, as I asked Maddie, because I was all excited. I was like, yeah, it's Morrowind. And then I'm like, wait, when is this? And he's all, dude, it's like 700 years. That's not going to work. Yeah. Unless they do like a Shivering Isles where it's like magic and you suddenly go back in time or forward in time.
Overall, I'm pretty excited for this, though. I do enjoy ESO. I hated it at first. I've said this before. Then Tamriel Unlimited came out and really turned the game around, I felt. And from there, it's just constantly been an improvement. I think it's just been them going uphill the whole time. I don't think they are reaching that point where they are dipping off. I think right now they're going to see a big spike because Morrowind definitely holds a lot of value to many gamers. And I know, if anything, that's gotten people to click on it and go, let's see what this is. And they need that. They need that interest with ESO because obviously this game's got to be getting support if they're still this many years down the line. Not like it's been out for a crazy long time compared to other MMOs, but I mean they're still supporting it, right? And this isn't just I wouldn't say an expansion. I mean it's being sold as a separate base game that ties in all of Elder
I mean, it's
Scrolls
like Burning
Online.
Crusade or something for WoW, right? I mean,
Yeah,
I guess.
it's the base game along with this big expansion, almost like a reselling of the game, which I don't think is terribly uncommon. There was I don't know if it was the one that you were just talking about, but I know World of Warcraft recently did it with some like Legion of whatever. Or it was on like every YouTube ad for months on end, and you'd have like YouTubers pimping it and stuff in that ad itself, like, "Oh, this is the best one I've ever played," and stuff, shaking his head.
Yeah. It's such a bad fucking look.
Yeah.
But anyway, I have a question. You said it's 700 years before or after? Sorry.
Before.
Okay. Do you think it'd be cool? And we just talked about this in our podcast. I was talking about sequel or games coming out where they have a past history and not doing a great job in connecting them. If this is 700 years before, I personally think it would be very cool if they did some fan service so that some quests sort of hinted around about the Morrowind main title. For example, what's the first city you go to in Morrowind? It's Sayadine, or it's pronounced weird. It's like Sidonine. I can't say Saydanine. Thank you. It'd be so cool if that wasn't built, but like you go to an area and they're like, we're building a town. What are you going to call it? And you can go on a quest to get it to be named that. Those kind of fan services to existing titles never happen anymore. Well, they barely ever happen, but it's something I've always wished would happen because you see it in books, you see it in novels, prequels, sequels. People do that all the time where you get a hint of this is the future that they're talking about. That would be something that would really bite me, like bite my sense of wonder if they did something like that and got me to go, oh, there's stuff here that's going to happen 700 years from now.
Yeah, I think they'll do that to some degree.
You think they will?
I wonder if they're going to think we don't want to rest on a nostalgia too much and just establish essentially Morrowind the whole way through. I mean, 700 years is a big gap, but I think
true, that's true too.
Yeah. I think the establishment of some towns and stuff. I mean, they said you're going to see Vivek City, so there's already going to be some places established. I'm not an expert on the Morrowind lore. Obviously, before I play this, I'm going to study up a little bit. I've been meaning to like really dive deep into Morrowind at some point in time because I've been like that along with The World Ends With You and Pillars of Eternity. Those are like the three ones on my and this isn't really a backlog, but it's like a title I want to play again. Dragon Age Origins. Those are 4 titles I really want to get back to and play for either the first time or just again. I've been actually concepting the idea of doing 20, like, whatever reviews at this point. Like, we'll say, for example, 2017 review of older titles. I thought, because I've noticed that it's very interesting to watch a review of an older game now with how games are critiqued, see how they've aged and stuff. I've done it with a couple of games, and they always go over well. I think that would be fun.
There are channels that are just dedicated to reviewing older games.
Yeah, I'm not talking like go back to the 64 and review fucking army soldiers, whatever it's called.
But channels do that and they do well.
Yeah, but
okay,
I'm just saying,
review combat, Atari 2600.
Yeah.
Go, Matt.
I'm just talking like the it's a way to go back and play these older games without the sacrifice of content as a YouTuber, and I thought it might be a good idea.
Yeah, for sure.
But I'm just tossing that around. But anyways, any other thoughts on Morrowind? Lone, I know you're so hyped, bro. You're getting into it, right?
Bro, I'm so hyped, man. I can't wait to play ESO.
Is this something normal for him? Because I was blown away when he responded that way. Are you just not a fan of ESO at all?
I'm okay. It's also partly because I'm just not that into Elder Scrolls, but even more so MMOs. I never grew up playing MMOs. I was always
that surprising because, like, to me, I'm a big Fallout fan. But I'm also a giant fan of Bethesda Game Studios. And so for me, that's what... Actually, my first Bethesda Game Studios game was technically Morrowind, but like the first one I sat down and played the hell out of was Oblivion.
Sure. Oblivion.
And maybe that's why I love Elder Scrolls. But I also knew at that point I love the types of games Bethesda Game Studios make. So for me, like, I don't know how you view it, Lomer. Like, have you... I mean, you said you've tried Skyrim, but like... Have you ever...
No, this is not because of something of Elder
Scrolls. Because the games
Scrolls.
have that same DNA in BGS
They
titles.
do.
So it's
They
you think if you'd like Fallout, you'd maybe like Elder Scrolls. So it's always interesting to hear the thought process behind them. Like
here's the reality, right? Like the first game that really got me into Bethesda games was obviously Fallout 3, and I played that at a time where I had a shit ton of time to be able to play games. I was in high school, so. Yeah. I played Fallout 3, then New Vegas, because I bought Fallout 3 pretty late, and then I got into New Vegas soon after that. And then I got into university, and it was just harder and harder to find the time to play games. And Skyrim was like, and Oblivion as well, was just so intimidating in terms of how many hours it took to play the game, when I still had Fallout 3 and New Vegas that I was enjoying, right? So it was personal. I just never got the time, and I've never been able to dedicate enough time to really enjoy that game, even though I know I'll love it. And I've said that all the time. I know I'll love that game.
I was just curious. I figured it boiled down more at a time, but I know, like, for example, Skyrim, you have tried that. You didn't like that as much though, right?
No, I didn't like it as much, I'll be honest. It's not that I didn't like it, but definitely not as much as Fallout 3. Because that's like, again, next to Bioshock, one of my favorite games.
Skyrim's just like adventurer porn, man. Like, it's just like adventure after adventure after adventure. That's why I like it.
Dude, it is. It's hilarious that the map, when you're walking around, it's literally map mess, which I joke around about, where you're playing from icon to icon. And that's, I mean, I can't tell you where some places are, but I know there's an icon there. Yeah. And it's like, you go, here's a cavern, and then a mighty dragon, and then a tower, all within the same truncated space. I think that's the difference between, let's say, Skyrim and Witcher, where Witcher spread out its space and spread out items a little bit more. You get a little less map mess on there, and that kind of stuff can bother particular players. And it also, like Lone said, you turn it on, and you're like, oh shit, I don't have the time to take on the equivalent of a small child to take care of for 400 hours, right?
True. It's so true.
It makes sense that a person like Lone's like, listen, when I was in school, by the way, that dates me, because he said he was in fucking high school when he played Fallout 3, and then he bought it late. Not only did he say he bought it in high school, but he's like, I bought it late. I thought he was born
in 92.
I'm sorry, what?
I was born in 1992.
I fucking graduated in 93, dude. Jesus. Anyway, dude. Okay. So you have a situation like that where, like, a person like Lone, if he doesn't have a ton of time, you turn on a game with map mess, and I think almost instantly your brain is like, oh shit, I mean, that's a lot.
And there are so many other games that you want to play. And
right.
I feel like I'm still playing the fucking same game for 3 months, and
for sure. And that's a good thing and a bad thing, right? Yeah. Like, for people who like it and only have $60, that's why I'm so happy. People can get mad all they want. You guys aren't, but I mean, on these type of games. But I love the fact that somebody who doesn't have a lot of cash, because I've been in that point where I was buying potatoes to fucking eat, and that's it. And the ability to buy a game and go, dude, it's $60, but it's 400 hours. Like, it's all my entertainment. I think that's so fucking awesome.
Yeah,
like,
it is awesome, because sometimes, even myself, I'm guilty of it. I'm thinking, I can buy this game, I can buy that game. I have a lot of disposable income, but a lot of people don't. So sometimes I don't place the same value on a Skyrim, for example, as someone that maybe only has $60 to buy one game for even a year. And the fact that game can push them through it with mods attached as well is a really good thing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, crazy for me, I have the perspective of, I mean, I view it obviously based off the $60 as well, but for me, it's also just that enjoyment. But I also have the perspective of, like, I went through all of high school literally off, like, $70 to $90 a month, like, not even joking. So, like, for me, it was like one game if I wanted, but I'm talking like it was $90 for everything. Gas to get to school, if I wanted to hang out with friends. Like, it was, like, literally fucking penny pinching where I could through most of high school. Where, like, I know it's good to have that perspective where it's like, I know what it's like to be really fucking tight with your money and like, every damn game you buy, like, you gotta know you're buying something good. But I also know, like, now that I'm very fortunate and able to get review copies were free of charge usually, but now I am lucky enough to be able to now purchase them so that I have that same $60 equivalent no matter what, where it's like, dude, I bought the game. Karak, we've talked about this when we review titles. You buy them anyway because it's like, my $60 is out there now.
Yep.
And to be honest,
that levels
like,
the playing field.
Yeah, it does. And sometimes when I play a bunch of games, that it is good for taxes.
It is good for taxes, by the way. Yes.
But sometimes when I play a bunch of games and I think, oh, they're bad, but I'm okay with it, and then I think, oh, how are people getting so upset about this game? That's part of the reason why too. The fact that what if that $60 was the only $60 they had for a while, and that was the game that could buy. Exactly. And then it turns out to be a bad game. And that's why a lot of people, when they get upset about a game, that is a justifiable reason that someone in my position needs to be cognizant of, every now and again.
One of the best pieces of advice I had got because I was poor our family had some ups and downs, and when I lived on my own, it was poor. I mean, like I said, it was missing rent at times. It was and I was working my ass off. And one of the best pieces of, or not advice, but something somebody said to me is that everybody's hell is relative. What that means is you may meet somebody who has a great life, but a small thing happens to them and their reactions chemically are identical. And somebody who follows psychology, their reactions are identical to you or I having maybe a smaller or larger thing. It just depends. So the same thing happens with games. I have one friend who, he's swimming in Scrooge McDuck levels of money, right? He literally probably has a swimming pool he doesn't tell me about. It's just filled with fucking gold doubloons. And he'll get a game, and it's so crazy because you and I say, oh, I buy every game, and I've had to buy Battle Crashers. My God, I had to buy Battle Crashers.
That hurts.
But it is funny though that some people can do it regardless. He's been rich all his life, and that motherfucker's he's got a ton of money, but he's a penny pinching bitch, man. I'll be like, "Are you getting this?" And he's like, "It needs to have," and he has a list of like, and it's like, dude, it's like reading a tome, or it's like the Book of Woe in Conan. You're reading me like 800 things. This game,
let's
no
sit
game
down
has
by
all
the
this.
fireplace, and I'll read you from my tome.
He's like, this is the Book of Woe for every title. It must have 400 hours, 7 character classes, and I'm like, dude, you need to pay with all your Scrooge McDuck levels of money. Make a game.
Yeah, I was
that fits what you want, right? Make a game.
Fantastic.
But it's all relative, and I think that it's cool that people have the attitude of like yourself, where it's like, you remember what it was like to not necessarily have that cash, because I think it's not like you're more honest or anything like that, but having the memory of going
you can relate. That's the thing. It lets you consider not just, imagine if it's like I was, at that point where like
I did just eat potatoes for a month.
So
top ramen.
Anyway, ramen.
I can't look at ramen anymore, man. That's all I did. That was another cheap, free thing. And so, like, after a while, you get...
Yeah, I can see how that... I'd have it for, like, a couple of days straight if I was sick, and I'd be like, okay, no more ramen for, like, 5 years.
As your body's just 600 pounds from sodium retention. Have you ever looked at the fucking seasoning packet? It's like 2,000 milligrams times 2, man.
I looked at that shit. I was like, Jesus
like licking
Christ,
a salt lick.
I was like, I'm going to fucking die eating this. Next bit of news that I found really interesting was that ZeniMax acquired Escalation Studios. So in the Bethesda Net article, they say, we have continually been impressed with the team at Escalation that Tom and Mark have assembled. Their commitment to quality and innovation has made significant contributions to the projects we worked on together, and we're excited to have them join the ZeniMax family. They are currently working on a number of projects with studios throughout the ZeniMax family, and will continue to contribute its talents across PC, console, mobile, and VR titles going forward. ZeniMax Media Studios are responsible for some of the most iconic games in our industry, said the co-managing director of the studio. Becoming part of this amazing family of developers is an honor for everyone at our studio. And so, what sticks out to me about Escalation, it says they're working on a number of projects with studios across the ZeniMax family. Is this a studio that's helping out rather than making their own? Almost how we viewed a Bethesda Game Studios Montreal, where it's like, they're not really doing their own thing. They're just gonna like help out with the fucking. They're like the not favorite child almost. Where like Bethesda Game Studios, you get to do the big work, but Bethesda Game Studios Montreal, here, do Skyrim Special Edition. That type of bullshit. So I wonder if that's how Escalation Studios is gonna be, just kind of helping out where they can.
Yeah. So all I can see about what Escalation Studios has done, they've helped out with Doom, but I think they just helped out with the development of Snap Map. I don't know if they did more than that.
But Snap Map's fantastic. You're right. So it's like
it is fantastic.
It is, but
it's like that's a good framework, right? Or a good example of what they can do.
That's true.
What did they just say they did the mode in general, or they just like help out with?
Well, they said they assisted with the mode, so I don't even know if they were, running that. It was probably still id that was running that.
Yeah, I'd imagine so.
But go to your point though about whether this is a studio that's just going to be helping out with the odd project here and there. It looks like it's going to be the case, which is not bad, to be honest. I mean, that's a good place for an employee to get experience, and then they can move on to something else.
That's a good career builder.
Yeah,
I mean,
they
could hop in and help with like a Prey thing. And then they could also be taking on stuff for like a Bethesda game studio stuff. That's very interesting. That's a good asset to have, just a studio design just to help others.
Yeah.
I think.
Also, there was some data when that was first announced about the company, and some of the people there are considered VR experts as well. And that was actually mentioned as a possibility, because we do know you're looking at Fallout 4, possibly, even though I think I told you I was a little nervous because I haven't seen much about that. But you do have various VR things going on as well. So
that's cool.
And I don't know if that's exactly true. It looked like it was true because of the website I was reading, but that's a website, right? Like it could be People Magazine for all the fuck I know. But yeah, man, I mean, like, that's smart. Hire, like, SnapMap, dude. So SnapMap, I know people love to hate it, but
really,
oh, yeah, it's like within a lot of the modding community and stuff like that, I hear it all the time where it's like, it's not a full blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I get it, right? But guess what? Either is the Morrowind when I first got that, and you have the creator right away. There were some things you couldn't do. Like, that's the way SnapMap is. Each has little limitations. But goddamn, what a fantastic idea. And if they got some work on it, imagine having SnapMap as a modding tool for, let's say, making mods in Fallout 5 or something.
Yeah, like a simplistic version. Because like a lot of myself, were like, hey, I'd love to make a mod, but I don't want to spend 9 years studying architecture to make sure it all makes sense. Maybe SnapMap is something that they'll build in. And I just
basic 10. 20, go to 10, go sub.
Like
I remember
like,
basic.
I remember trying it out, and I was like, okay, I just, like, my brain was fried from like an hour of work. I was like, this is just not the career line for me. Like, I accepted it. I was like, look, but here's the thing that's why I've said this on the podcast a bunch of times. Try game development, because when you try it and then you play a video game, you're like, how the fuck did they do this?
Yeah.
And you get this like appreciation. You're like, oh my god, they're really fucking talented. And so.
Yeah, but Matty, like, people on the internet believe that there's like a little switch that you flick and then the game's created, and that's all it takes.
You know what the switch is? The switch is fucking, no lie, the switch is the power to the building. And that's as close as you get. The rest is an intense amount of work and most likely at least a couple thoughts of suicide. Any development is insanely hard, and game development is rough as fuck. So, yeah, it takes much more than that to get something going.
Yeah,
definitely.
I mean, this Escalation Studios, though, do you think maybe if you're saying they got VR experts, do you think they're taking the reins for Fallout 4 VR?
Or they're helping them, maybe they've run into a problem. There's memory issues with VR. There's resolution issues with VR. There's, all of the issues. And maybe, just maybe, Bethesda's pretty busy on their own stuff. And they're like, hey, you guys worked out for SnapMap. We need you to do a couple things over here. And in fact, Obsidian CEO, which I mess up his name, so I'll let Matty say it.
Fergus Urquhart. Sorry.
Thank you.
Fergus Urquhart.
Yeah. So Urquhart, he even spoke about the difficulty of having too many jobs and not enough people. And so maybe Bethesda's doing that. It's like, hey, it's not just we want you to do something new. It's, oh shit, we need some help ourselves to move out some of those jobs. And it's very smart on Bethesda's part. That they went and got somebody like that. Like, I don't know. I know people want them to buy Obsidian, but like,
I thought it would happen.
I don't.
That's one idea I thought would happen. But when we started talking about Warner Brothers, like just purchasing people under the sun, I mean, I could see that happening. That would definitely be a possibility. But
I just like those guys making their own shit, right? Like I don't really want them working for one pub.
True.
I like the idea.
True. And it's also kind of, I guess, right place, right time. I mean, right now, but back in the day when Obsidian worked on Fallout New Vegas, for example, Bethesda just wasn't really, and correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't really in the let's we're really growing now. Let's buy the dev studios. Let's create our own dev studios like Montreal.
Because that was when their published titles were like hit or miss. Like you'd have Rage and then you'd have Rogue Warrior, and you'd be like, "What the fuck kind of like and quality control your asses fucking have here? This is a travesty."
And you had Brink as well, which just turned out to be a flop.
Brink could have been
I guess
so cool, man.
I guess what I'm saying is that, say if the Obsidian of old, because it's changed so much since New Vegas, like apparently Chris Avellone was saying that almost none of the people that wanted to work on another Fallout game are still there at Obsidian, right?
It's a different
but if that Obsidian of old were working with Bethesda now, then I think that the possibility of acquisition was possible.
A lot of people don't realize some who do work at New Vegas, couple of developers I see on Twitter.
You mean work at Obsidian? You said work at New Vegas.
They work on New Vegas. They worked on New Vegas. I apologize, and now work at Bethesda Game Studios and worked on Fallout 4. So a lot of the mines that were in New Vegas were not a lot.
That's true.
Some of the mines that were in New Vegas were in Fallout 4. So the Fallout Hive mine is still there. It's just that the game just didn't pan out that well at the end of the day.
What was its score, Maddie? What was Fallout 4's score like on a Metacritic? Do we know?
User or
it was
critic?
Like 84.
Oh, I think it's 80. No, 84 was Vegas, right? Because that's what lost.
No, it depends. If you look at the PC version, it's 84. PlayStation 4 is 87, and Xbox One's 88.
I was gonna say it depends if you're looking at critic or user.
Yeah,
well, I don't
like
believe user because I can fill in. Whatever I want.
You know why I don't like, and it's not that I don't trust the opinions of gamers, but it's more because to an extent. But when people tend to do like a Metacritic review and they're a gamer, it's either this is the greatest thing 10, this is the shittest thing 0, and there's no in between. Rarely there's any in between, and that's why you get such deflated scores sometimes. Because if a game just isn't liked, it's usually around the 6 mark, and if a game's really liked, it's usually around the 8.5 or 9, and there's not much in between.
So the reason why I bring this up, the reason why I asked is I don't know if you guys follow, what is it, Noah? Nioh? How do you pronounce that, Maddie? The game that came out for the PS4?
Oh, Neo?
Neo, I apologize. So it's around the same score and people are calling it a classic. And then you see 84 and you're saying Fallout 4 maybe didn't turn out the best, blah, blah, blah. And it's so funny to me sometimes hearing the verbalization of the score. Because it's like...
That's why I don't do...
It's so crazy.
I don't do number scores. Because you fuck
scores,
yourself in the process. Yeah. You really do.
But I guess what I'm saying is I like Fallout 4 more than you. I
don't think that's true. I loved
Fallout
4 for a while. And then I'm not saying you didn't see the light. I'm saying I kind of, woke up to reality. I was like, okay, this isn't what I want it to be.
I just thought it was a good game.
Yeah, like at the end of the day, it's a good game. It's just not the how do I word it? It's not the Fallout game I was looking for. Really.
Okay, that makes sense.
It wasn't. There's a lot of stuff that I loved in the Fallout DNA that was very much stripped out of 4. And that's the kind of the harsh reality I came to. I'm like, okay, I can't fake it till I make it. Fuck it.
And to be honest, Matty, I don't think that's because you just had a kind of sudden realization. I think that was partly because as well, the way the game was set up, with the removal of perks and just you could max out everything in one playthrough. Mm-hmm. There wasn't much replayability. And those kind of notions that, this isn't the Fallout that I remember, come out after a second or a third playthrough. I've read a lot of comments of people on Reddit saying, I'm trying to get into a second playthrough of Fallout 4 or a third. It's not happening in the same way.
I've only beat it twice, man, and that's coming from someone who with 3 in New Vegas, I beat those so many fucking times,
10 times over.
It's such a, and mind you, those are some of my favorite games of all time. Absolutely. I think there is a bit of nostalgia, a bit more of extra love there for those games, but it's also that 3 isn't as replayable. There's really kind of a good neutral bad for 3, but New Vegas is more of you can really keep branching and do a lot of playthroughs, where I'd say 3 is more of a nostalgia love, but still that doesn't change the fact that those games gave me more diverse choices, where at least in Fallout 3 I could get 3 solid playthroughs out of it, doing different karma builds.
Makes sense.
I think that was a big part of the issue, is that a lot of people forget Fallout 4 removed karma overall. They entirely removed it. So I mean, they also removed speed checks and added them in far harder. They removed special skill stats needed to do certain quests. They made it overly accessible, which isn't a bad thing. It's just that you have to limit it in certain areas, or else it becomes such a
or add
broad
in new
stroke.
gameplay elements.
Yeah, because it becomes such a broad stroke that you do everything in one playthrough, and when you come back that second time, you're like, okay,
yeah, right.
It's the same
and they probably they turned the dial a little bit too much. But I, to be honest, think that that's what led to its huge success.
Yeah.
Like Fallout 4 sold stupidly well, and I think that's partly because of the
absolutely.
reason.
Yeah.
Like, you know, people, someone would have bought the game that never would have played Fallout before and said, "Oh, this is really cool." Maybe they weren't used to RPGs or whatever, but it was more accessible. They would tell a friend about it. The friend would buy the game now, and that more casual audience got into it. And that's maybe why hardcore fans are more upset. But the game sold well, so as a business decision, it's hard to knock it.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree with you. Completely.
Me too.
Yeah, they did the right thing when it came to how they marketed it and how they created the game. It sold so many copies. You know,
Have you guys ever
outsold Call of Duty at one point?
Have you guys ever wished that like a Bethesda or anybody who does these that become I don't want to, it's not casualized because it's still an RPG, but whatever. I wish sometimes that they created a smaller division within themselves that did hardcore continually. So like, you know, you get a Bethesda, for example, they just hired whatever that company's name is. I just forgot it, but they just hired it.
Studios.
Yeah, it would be cool if instead of having them do VR, having them help with grid snap map, they were like, okay, you make, you know, something that's just super hardcore, like whether it be another Fallout side title or something. All these companies have this issue over their lifespan. At some point, if it's a long series, there will be an issue with the past people not liking it and current people. I tell people all the time, there's new people every day. And Christmas, there's a bunch of new people jumping in. They don't necessarily know what Fallout 3 offered. And that's why I review under both guises. I played the prior games, and what if I was a new person to come to this series? I sort of wish one of these companies would be like, okay, we're just going to do hardcore shit over here on the side.
You know how out of all companies who actually did that at one point was Ubisoft. You'd have like Assassin's Creed and stuff, but then they did Child of Light.
They did Child of Light, which you and I both liked a lot.
They divided off a part of a team, a literal random just mashup team. They said there was like, I think their studio had, I mean, I'm not trying to sound like, oh, it matters like who they were, but it was just kind of like a no-name guy. And they were like, yeah, we're just doing this project. And they did it. It was a fantastic game. Yeah. Really good game. But it was Ubisoft.
And someone that's kind of doing that now, I guess, is Ken Levine with Irrational. He's just doing his own little side project with a smaller amount of people
for so long, man.
I know, and but it seems like it's going to be like kind of that hardcore, smaller niche type of game. So who knows what's happening with?
I have so been burned out on that, dude. After a while, I got really burnt just because talking to people who work with certain people and over time, and just like the difficulties and artists, right? They're a little bit more difficult, and developments become such a communal thing. Same thing happened to John Carmack. Same thing when I talked to John Romero, GEC, same thing happened there, where you get accustomed to working in a group and it doesn't work as well. So some people don't translate as well. And I just feel like he doesn't translate as well into a group. You hear a lot of people who work with him go like, yeah, Ken walked in and it's his art. It's his, right? So this makes sense, right? It's his, so he can do this. But there is a morale factor when something good has been created and you tear it up completely and say we're starting all for your own vision, where you probably should have kept more track of it as you went, so that the entire team doesn't say we just created greatness, or to them, right? And we're tearing it up. It's just, that's a personal thing of mine that sucks. As somebody who's managed people, that would be tough for those people to take, to be like, yeah, that's gone, you know. I don't know. It's just a sort of a side thought on Ken. I like his stuff though, man. I mean, like, I play the hell out of the games.
Yeah. So how about Fallout 4 randomly getting an update? It's getting a high resolution texture pack, which is 58 gigabytes.
58.
And a PS4
that is
Pro
half
update.
a person's Capcom, or that is half a person's Comcast bandwidth limit, by the way, Matty, because most are 100.
Fuck. Wait, you still have bandwidth limits there? That's insane.
Yeah, we do. Mm-hmm.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Also, a mod update is coming later this week, so we're going to be hearing something about that. They just said that. It's...
Hold on. Wait. So we were right when we said it was going to be a high resolution texture pack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, we were. We were correct when we said, hey, this is not DLC. like a Bar Harbor or
that's right.
Everybody thought it was though. Yeah. Everybody wanted it to be.
I was shocked. People were mad. They're like, "What the fuck? I want more Fallout 4." I'm like, "Wow!" Like I was surprised. Like there is still a demand for people who want more Fallout 4. And maybe it's because I have the perspective of someone who talked about it every day for years. Where I'm like, okay, I'm done. Like I don't feel like talking about Fallout 4.
I think we proved it though. We proved why.
Yeah. It's just
because Fallout 4 doesn't have a lot of replayability. So if you're adding a DLC or an expansion, right, wouldn't a person be like, oh, wow, another reason to enter Fallout 4 that doesn't include shitty replayability? Maybe?
True.
Yeah. My interesting thing, like, and I did this with Skyrim as well. I don't necessarily understand the reason why they release a high resolution texture pack. Just from a business standpoint, it like I understand that it's
fans
cool
who have supported them for decades. I'm like, that's what you offer. This is your love letter to modders who literally.
Here's a better picture than the picture you already have.
But I'm just saying, they described it literally as this is a love letter to all the fans who have supported our games for decades, and we put a lot of effort into it. I'm like, that is PR speak, and PR speak, because like you have fans who have been supporting your games, like keeping them alive, keeping them relevant more than anything, so that people don't just not give a fuck about when your next title comes around. They keep your name in the loop constantly with all these mods and shit. And a texture pack
that
is
could be a part
letter.
of it though. Like I'm not going to deny that could be a part. Like they think they're giving back, but I'm willing to think that there is some other development reason why they do these high resolution texture packs, and it's probably to get prepped for the next game. And I could be wrong with that, right? But say, like, do you remember when they were doing the new engine, and the first thing that they did was port over Skyrim, and then that's how we got Skyrim Special Edition.
Skyrim did get a high resolution texture pack, but it was in the first couple of months.
It was in the first couple of months, but I have a feeling that they do these is just like as a next step to get to the next game or to improve the engine, something around those lines. Like I cannot imagine they just do these on a whim without there being an important reason behind it. That's just my opinion, and I don't know what that reason is. I can't just see them doing it over how many, like a year and a half, however much time has passed since Fallout 4 was announced or released. I can't then see them doing just random texture pack for no reason.
That's what I said. I when I saw the tweet, I literally said like, that's random. Like this is just
it's just random.
The game has been done since August, and they're just kind of like out of nowhere. Oh yeah, but we have a high resolution texture pack. Enjoy. And it's like,
so
shit. Okay.
If it could be. I'm just guessing. Because I do mods, and so talking to people who do textures and mods, some people have been very unhappy with Bethesda's textures. As we know, there's high resolution mod packs everywhere. 58 gigs is not every single texture. We know that. It'll be some big ones, obviously. I think there's some technical stuff that happens. You fix your engine, you optimize, you realize we have a little extra texture budget. Let's do that. I think also, and now that I've talked to some developers who used to be modders, who are like within the development community, there's a lot of tit for tat with modders sometimes, where if a modder does an excellent, texture pack and it beats out the original creators, they're like, well, damn. So there's probably a tiny bit of ego too, where it's like, okay, well, all right, and we need to do this. But I agree with Lone that like a lot of it is keeping people busy, having them learn, having them do new stuff, but also testing, like, how good can we make a crappy texture look? How good can we make? How much resolution do we need for an excellent texture? How much texture detail? And there's a lot of training that can occur at a company when you're like, okay, you 3 people make a texture pack, and you let them do it, and then you can see their work, but you can also see like what you could possibly do. So I agree that there's probably a lot of it is probably like technical. Testing that makes sense to also give to the consumer.
And to be honest, it's probably something that a bunch of other developers do, but Bethesda's just like, and now we'll just release it for free because why not? That's the way I see it, happening. Yeah. So
still though,
not that that's a bad thing, but yeah.
Yeah, it's also, like I said, there's a PS4 Pro update, which that doesn't surprise me. They promised that around November.
Those could have been intertwined too. To be honest, though, like maybe that's another reason why they were doing the PS4 Pro texture pack, because they promised Sony, and they were like, "Well, how about we do the high resolution texture pack while we're doing the PS4 Pro increase?"
Is this just for PC, by the way? This texture pack?
Yeah, and then the PS4 Pro update is separate.
I think Lone probably just hit on something too, because with the PS4 Pro, you know what you're getting, and they're doing this update. With the PC, they don't care because they give it to you, and how it runs is up to like your settings. So I think that actually makes sense that, maybe they did have some work on the PS4 Pro and then we're like, okay, well, let's also or Scorpio, because you can't tell me Fallout 4 won't release for the Scorpio. I don't care what anybody says. That's for sure a port. Is there going to be the ultimate unbelievable collector's unlimited limited edition of Fallout 4, right?
Yeah.
So for the Scorpio with higher res. So
speaking of Fallout and Xbox, Fallout Shelter coming to Xbox One next.
I know.
Not next week. Sorry, I almost had a slip of the tongue there. It's coming to Xbox One. It also says Windows 10 PC, which is weird because it's already on PC for Bethesda Net. So fuck it. Let's just talk about the console version. Why just Xbox? Is this once again another
relationship?
I was gonna say, is this once again just that relationship between these two where like they're just bros, and then Sony, they're like, yo, you guys fucking suck. We hate you.
No, but they did do the PS4 Pro texture pack. Like they at least there's something there.
And mods are now in the PS4.
Yeah, and I guess
I'd love to get trophies on my PS4 for Fallout Shelter, if I'm honest. Like that's just that when I looked at that, I'm like, man, I'd love to get like a Fallout Shelter Platinum trophy.
Why?
What would that
I love
involve
trophy
anyways?
hunting. Like in games, you get like the trophies
do
and
you?
stuff. I love it. I love it.
Gotcha.
Like,
I couldn't even tell you like an achievement I've ever got.
Really? Do you not care about that stuff?
No, I definitely don't care. I anti-care.
Really?
I used to be in that period where I would get every single achievement for every game I played. I eventually got over it because it means you're playing a game for fucking forever.
Yeah,
I agree.
It's only certain games. Like if it's a game I really care about, I'm like, it gave me so much. It's like I'm doing. It sounds weird. It's like you're almost doing the game a service though. Like Final Fantasy 15, loved that game. I was like, I saw the platinum trophy. I was like, okay, I can. I was going through a trophy list and I was thinking like, okay, this is attainable. That's the thing. You gotta see if it's attainable first. It's like, okay, this doesn't look downright fucking tedious and annoying. I can definitely get this. And so I did it in about 80 hours, and that's a good healthy amount of time I'd put into a JRPG anyway. So
I think achievements is a separate discussion because we could go on for. I think that's actually a huge discussion when you start talking about game design and stuff. But one of the things I can only state the reason why I probably dislike them is because when I talk to developers, they fucking hate them many times, and it's because the game design is based around a fucking platinum trophy versus their actual game. Mm-hmm. Sales are weird.
Yeah.
One of the guys that I talked to was like, dude, we have no clue. It's very hard for us to even know how our game sold versus the platinum that we did, or not the platinum. They had a trophy that was very easy to get, and their game is one of those lower priced games, and they didn't know like what people liked. Did they like the game or were they trophy hunter? And some people say, well, their sales, that's all that matters. It's true. It's absolutely true. But also they have to create their next game. They need to know what people liked, disliked, those kind of things. And it becomes a little bit of a gray area. And then a lot of developers are like, I want people to see this cave, not 25 guys inside they have to kill to get a platinum.
Yeah.
Like,
see, the
so
way I view it is if I were to be a developer and I was to create an achievement or trophy, I would treat it as almost a challenge mode. Those are the best ways to do achievements and trophies. Obviously you get your automatic story achievements and stuff that happens no matter what.
Watching the first cutscene.
But but not this fucking like alternate objective in the main story mission, like jump off this bridge instead of driving down it, and it tailors off and it just fucks up your progress because you wanted to get that trophy.
That's true,
if it's like a challenge mode, I think that's more fun. Like, for example, Rage is like kill 3 guys with 1 RC car bomb. It's like, okay, I'm gonna toy around more with that RC car bomb. You see that? Yeah, I don't get it, whatever.
That adds to gameplay, I think. Yeah, that's cool.
No, I think achievements in another way though add value. Like for example, especially in an RPG, when you have a bunch of main story quests and then side quests, sometimes you're more incentivized to do a side quest if there's an achievement around it, and that means you're exploring more of the game. And I think it's a way.
Not to interrupt you, just I didn't like that in Fallout 3, for example, because I felt it not only highlighted the amount of side quests that were in the game where it felt like there weren't too many, but it almost made it feel like, okay, it's an achievement quest. This has got to be a really good one. And when it wasn't that amazing, like the family quest line in Fallout 3, that one was like a decent one, but it really...
That was all right.
But it was... Yeah, exactly. It was just like, okay. And it was an achievement one. And I'm like, okay, that wasn't that special. And it feels like it overshadows the other quests in the game where... that's why I say tie it to your main story, sure, to mark progress, to reward the player, quotes. Right. But, you know, I'd say treat it like a challenge mode, because then doing different extra objectives after the game to get those trophies, that's fun too. Or tie
to
them
an
to
extent,
like those
though,
really end game things.
Sometimes there are achievements and challenges that are just so obscure and so hard to get that they make you not enjoy the game as much.
Yeah.
To be honest, I can't recall specific examples, but probably when I was playing Borderlands, like there are just really hard achievements that, because I was in my phase, that I just wanted to get and think, this is just not fun anymore, and it's just there to be annoying. To be like, that's how I felt, and I'd prefer like those achievements that felt a bit more natural, like doing a side quest. That's natural.
I agree. Yeah, I mean, I look at like Diablo 3, where it's like the achievements are pretty natural as you play the game. You do these different mechanics, you do a couple of challenges and stuff. But then you got one that's like play the game on hardcore difficulty. Now I'm thinking like, okay, you beat the game, you unlock hardcore. I realize there are 13 levels of torment difficulty that are fucking gruelingly hard before you can get to that. And mind you, can switch your difficulty mid playthrough. So I could probably in like a second playthrough get to like torment 5. I don't know. I'm just wagering a guess. Like that's asking me for another really technically like beat the game 5 times or some shit like that to get to the hardcore mode. And it's like that's a lot. That's a lot to ask for, where like the rest of it, you know, it's so polarizing, because in the rest were pretty easy to acquire. And then you got these remaining few. It's like, do I just gun for it? It's like, no, fuck that. And just leave it as is. Where I love trophies and achievements. It's just an exciting feeling. I don't know. I've always liked them, and I can never really explain exactly why. You know, because it's just it's almost like a reward.
It's one of those reasons why we love games, is that sense of achievement and satisfaction when you complete something in its entirety.
That's the thing. Is like I think of it this way. Like when I heard the Nintendo Switch probably won't have an achievement trophy system, like I got bummed. I'm like, that sucks. Like why don't you do that? I get that you know, when I started playing games, what did I play it for? The video game or the falsified digital trophy? It's like obviously the game. And that's why going back, what I do now is I'll play the game for the first time through. Don't look at the trophy list. If I really liked it, if I'm like, fuck yes, I'm playing more, then I'll look at the list. Then I'll go back.
And that adds to replayability, and it's another value proposition for people that don't have much money. And I think that's why, like, that could be part of the reason why achievements exist in the first place. I think they're brilliant, and I found my enjoyment with them in the time. Like, not anymore, because, again, I don't have much time to play games, but I still think they serve an important purpose, to be honest.
Yeah. But overall,
I do want to say that I said that developers hate them. The ones I've talked to, it's the implementation they hate. Not like
fair enough,
they're just a bad thing, but the implementation. So that was my misspeaking. But what's weird is I've never seen a trophy list in my life. I wouldn't even know where to go to see what you're talking about.
AchievementGuide.com. Like there's an Xbox Achievement Guide website.
There's channel. Did you know there's channels like completely based off of trophy hunting and stuff like that?
Well, sure, but there's channels based around some of the craziest shit on the internet. Okay. There's people who believe that Roswell's real. So like,
you got Achievement Hunter. They used to be that.
Aren't they like a website or something? See, I don't even remember. I don't watch YouTube. I don't like have any. I don't do any of that kind of stuff. So I think it makes sense for, like Lone said, for value add, but. I think, to be honest, there is almost all the developers do not do it for that reason. And I think that if we got them more tracked towards doing value adds, that would be even cooler. Because I'm going to be honest, I play these games to see one thing, which is the end, so I can review it, right? Or so I can feel like I've completed it, right? Unless it's a football game, you can't win that fucker. When I see an achievement for thank you for sitting through the first menu scene or the first cutscene, it infuriates me. And it's so stupid. I just posted on Twitter a couple days ago. I was like, oh, great. I just got a cutscene, like, trophy. Like, this makes no fucking sense.
Yeah, I agree. I think those are gimmies.
So developers, I want them to be like you guys said, defeat these people. Okay. I can do that without the game telling me to. See, I don't get rewarded by that either. If I see something pop up, I never go, I'm like, get out of the way. Matter of fact, I turn them off. But I can see what you mean if, like, it said, go to this place in Skyrim and do this special, do something within it that like, is unique. I can see those being useful. I just, to be honest, don't see that very often. I feel like many times when I get them, I'm like, what the fuck am I getting this for? You shot 1,000 bullets. Like, it's a fucking shooter. Of course I would. Right?
It
Just roll
reminds
down
me
the
of
fucking circle.
I've
That's
been
not
playing,
an achievement.
I've been playing a lot of Dead or Alive 5 lately. Do you ever just pick up a random game and just go like, okay, yeah, Dead or Alive 5 has been that random game for me.
Really?
I like it a lot too. I always loved Dead or Alive though. Like I was too young, let's just say, when I was playing 3, and like you'd see tits bouncing all over the place. You'd be like, holy fucking shit! Like I couldn't believe my eyes sometimes.
This is the greatest game of all time.
See,
I love
like
it.
for those who actually
Mom,
play,
get out of the room!
Yeah. You'd see like Tina, and I'd be like, okay, settle down.
I feel shivery. Something's going on.
You know, and I was looking at the trophies of that game, and one of them was like, watch a movie, watch a replay, change the background music, go into your options, play a versus match, play a time attack, do a tag match.
Okay, that's Monday.
Go into training. Yeah. Go into your move list. Like, I'm like, what do you think? I'm a dumbass? Like, I can do that in 5 fucking minutes. That's like 20 trophies in 5 minutes. I did it. I was like, that was easy. I mean, I still play it a ton. I'm getting the value for my money. I got it on sale for like $15, and so I'm getting more than my money's worth, man. But what I was getting at, speaking of that game, was that I like it when maybe I'll go out of my way for a trophy, but it'll tie into an in-game reward. So, like, for example, it was like, go do, X amount of tag matches. And I'm like, okay, fuck it, whatever. I do them. And then I got, like, a couple costumes for characters. And I was like, okay. So, like, I would have just been playing the game and naturally unlocked it. But now I went for that, and I got an in-game reward, and I started wearing all these new costumes and fights. And the game's goofy as fuck. So, I mean, there's goods and bads to it. For me, it's like,
I think every
don't
achievement
focus
should
on
be
it.
matched to something.
Yeah, I agree. I remember, I mean, one thing, it was kind of cool. I think it was a good way for Xbox to do it, is that they'd have the achievements match up with avatar items, and you'd get
correct.
Yeah, that's cool.
I really like
that. Actually, I was still not okay with, but somebody got something which I thought was sort of cool.
Yeah,
and I think
remember,
that they
ODST
worked a little harder.
would give you like Halo helmets and armor and stuff, and that was cool.
Yeah.
So
cool.
anyway,
it's a good discussion.
Had some shit achievements though. Like they had some hard achievements in that game.
Oh yeah.
Like what? Do you remember?
I you know what? It's one achievement. Hold up, like it's one of the hardest achievements of all time.
ODST, he said.
Oh,
like wasn't it collecting like the medals or something?
Dude,
like that?
Halo achievements are just ridiculous. Like the fucking collect all the skulls.
They're for the hardcore. Something.
Yeah,
skulls. That's the one. That's the one.
Right, yeah.
Those things.
Getting all the skulls, man. Grenade jumps.
And finding out
the amount of suicides I've accidentally done in that game, trying to on Silent Cartographer, trying to grenade jump your way up onto the top of this fucking little capsule to get a fucking skull. Oh my god. The amount of times I threw down a grenade and blew myself up. It's ridiculous. That game's insane. How about we talk about Ghost Recon Wildlands? Karak, you and I played a bit of the beta.
Yes.
Yes.
We did. You go first.
All right.
I'm going to debunk everything he says. Go.
as the stream said,
where's my popcorn?
As the stream said,
Far Cry.
Or as the stream saw, sorry. I was not impressed. Okay, now here's the thing: is I sat down and they forcibly play a video that you cannot skip, and it goes, "We worked on this game for over 4 years. We worked hard. We love this game. Love letter to gamers." Bullshit.
Did you get an achievement for it?
And
Uplay? Did you get Uplay points for that, Matty?
And I'm like, okay. So I sit down and play it, and it is, as I described to Karak, a culmination of every Ubisoft idea in a video game ever. It's got Far Cry DNA. It's got Division in it. It's got Assassin's Creed in it. It's got Tom Clancy's Splinter Cell. It's just got I'm not saying like unique spins on them, like the customization, the way you go through switching weapons, like double tapping while you take out your pistol, the way the weapons line up. Division, what else is there? The way the world is laid out, the exploration, Far Cry. The way that you tackle bases, Far Cry. I mean, it's just and also kind of the stealth reminds me of Splinter Cell, which makes sense. It's Tom Clancy series, but I mean, man, this game just doesn't feel like, for example, if I looked at Ghost Recon, I think it was Advanced Future Soldier or something, I'd look at it and go like, that's a Ghost Recon game. Looking at this, I'm like, this is a Ubisoft game, which I think is telling in a way, because they have a DNA, which I was just talking about with Bethesda games, where you play Elder Scrolls, you play Fallout, they have a similar feel, but they're very different things, where this just seemed like just every Ubisoft trope stuffed into a title so far. And I wasn't a fan of it overall. I liked how some of the, for example, though, I do have to say on the positive side, I liked how you could tackle bases and, but it also was very Far Cry Primal. There we go. Toss the owl up instead. In this, toss your drone up, spot enemies.
Yeah.
Then you make your way into the base with all the marked enemies, and it's just really just playing fucking tag because they all have their backs turned because you know where all of them are. And it's just, I like taking down the base. I like the idea of co-op action. I really like the SOCOM feel the game has where, you know, you'd shoot someone and you'd hear like over the radio someone go like target down. Because I love SOCOM, Jesus Christ. SOCOM so much. Yeah. And that game definitely gave me the feel for that. But it was also, I also really appreciated the dynamic nature of the game, where I'd go into a base to pick something up, and it'd say like, oh, hey, and if you take this helicopter and bring it back to this certain point, you'll get this many skill points for your skill section. And I kind of like that, but it seemed like also the Ubisoft Collectathon, you know, tag these supplies. That's what you can do is when you tag supplies, you get supply points, which is essentially experience points because you unlock skills. That's what it is. Which you could also connect, holy shit, it just hit me, back to the Division where you unlock skills by like getting, for example, medical supplies or the tech tree, the security tree, and then those would unlock skills as you invested in each of those by getting fucking supplies. Jesus Christ, man. I can't fucking believe it. I that just hit me. This shit, I do not agree with me. Like, this shit is so much like every Ubisoft game in one. It doesn't feel like Ghost Recon. That's my issue, really. Does not feel like Ghost Recon.
Yeah. Lone, do you have anything to add before I go?
No, go ahead. I haven't really played it, so.
Yeah, so the name's wrong. Far Cry Primal shouldn't have been Far Cry Primal. Should have been Primal. There's multiple games that their name does, whether you like that game or not, I don't care. These names, the names need to start, people need to start taking care of like the IP itself and understanding what makes the IP super popular, whatever. What you have with this is Tom Clancy's, what is it? Like, how does the full name go? Is it Tom Clancy's...
Ghost Recon Wildlands, I want to say?
Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon Wildlands? Or is Tom Clancy in there? Okay.
Tom Clancy in there, yeah.
So if you said, here's Wildlands, many gamers would look at that in a different light than when you say, here is a fucking Ghost Recon game. That's, yeah, you're right. Like, the name is, it shouldn't be named that. Whether you start talking about design, that's something that I think Ubisoft, everybody has metrics. They see what people like. They see what people engage with.
Yeah, we were talking about that.
Yeah, and so what you and I may like may not be for the larger contingent of people playing these games. I will say this. It was generic Forest Land number 45, but it was also very fun at times.
Yes.
And so I played for about 8 hours, and for the first 2, I was like, things feel off. Driving's off. This is off. Performance was okay. I know other people were having terrible problems. I was okay with that. But then about the 3rd hour in, I had this one moment where did I tell you about the truck?
Yeah.
Did I tell you the truck moment prior?
For the cast.
Where basically there's so much verticality in the game. That's the first thing I love. I love verticality. Witcher 3 did it right. Skyrim, 10,000 steps. Right? Isn't that what that's called?
7,000, something like that.
But I love the climb. Verticality really allows you to make the world feel bigger. The verticality here is fantastic. And I was in a truck, and it says order assault, and I'm like, what the fuck does this button do? And I order it. They bust out the windows, leap up onto the windowsills, and start firing as I go through a base. And my brain was just like, that was epic.
Yeah, that is cool.
And it was all of this. I mean, like, the shocks were making sound. Like, there was all of these movie time moments that I really liked. Was it Ghost Recon movie time moments? No, it was far more. So it was far more action, right? Than I think I expected originally. It's generic. I mean, like, we can say it's all these other games, but then you can also say, well, they didn't spin around a tower, so is it really like Far Cry? There's differences and there's similarities. Every game has to have a HUD. I hated the HUD in this game. It looked just like every other game. Do you play the HUD? No, so fuck off. Like, that's me being stupid. Like, I need to not worry about that.
I wouldn't say it's stupid. I mean, that's a part of the presentation that you initially see.
Is.
If it's an obtrusion, to the product
Yeah,
itself.
yeah. If it breaks you out, it didn't break me out, but it did make me go, "Holy shit! Like, this is like copy and paste." But there was a lot of really cool spots in that game, very cool moments. But there was overall a lot of feeling of been there, done that.
That's the thing, though. Yeah, it's that.
That's life.
I don't hate Ubisoft games as much as it sounds like I do. I really don't. It's that they don't try to innovate on their formulas and instead dip into other titles that made them unique and share them with other games, in sense making all of them feel the same, where like I said, a Ghost Recon Wildlands really is a lot like the Division, just in an open world, or a much more open world space, and you can do it single player. Let's talk about the AI
real quick though. And I agree with you, but this is me arguing with myself. This is what I do all day. I agree with you, but you just indicated two huge differences by saying they were similar, or by saying that they were just this, but with small changes. It is an MMO, which is vastly different. Mm-hmm. Or a co-op, which is vastly different than an MMO, which is Division. So yes, it's just like this, but these two differences that you just mentioned are massive differences.
True. Yeah, it's just that.
So you have to be honest on that part.
No, I agree. It's just more so the DNA of both those games are very much the same, despite
very
being
much the same,
incredibly different. I mean, here's the thing though, is that it's because, and we've had this discussion before, they tie so much to the Tom Clancy name that we could just say that maybe they're making them similar. Oh, it's a Tom Clancy game. Maybe that's the way they're looking at it. This is the Tom Clancy DNA. It's got to feel like Division's got to feel like Ghost Recon. Could that be what we're missing? Maybe, but for me, it's like I look at Ghost Recon as something separate and different. Where I liked how the cover system and the stealth worked. That was very Splinter Cell-esque. But like I said, yeah, it seemed like a mixed bag of a lot of Ubisoft games in one. And I don't know if it was in a. I wouldn't say it was in a good way. It just, like you said, it was a lot of been there, done that.
Yeah. I mean, one thing you and I, and well, anybody who's, I mean, not even reviewing games, but buying games, you have to wonder sometimes. We demand innovation, but we also don't understand the financial, artistic risks of innovation a lot of times. Even though I just bitched about Ken Levine, or Levine, whatever. Even though I just bitched about him, this is, like I said, I argue with myself all day long when I'm reviewing a game, because I have to come from each side.
A reaction and all that shit.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I agree, but you and I came out of it at slight, like, I didn't love it, but it sounds like you're a little bit hating it. Does that? And I'm not saying you're a hater. Yeah, I'm just saying that if the middle line is here, you're here.
Well, here's the thing: is I use the word hate on entertainment properties very selectively. Like, I try to make sure that if I tell you, because I view it as a reviewer, if you go like, I love this game, like, it's got to really have weight. Because if you say I love this, I love that, it loses its value.
Sounds the same. It's Ubisoft.
Yeah, and so if I wouldn't say I hate it, because I don't hate Ubisoft games, but I'm not a fan. Not a fan.
Gotcha.
Or rather, because I don't want to predetermine my judgment on the
title.
title.
How long have you played, can I ask, real quick?
3.5.
Well, that's long enough to, yeah.
And so I put a decent amount of time into it, not as much as you, but for me, I think it was enough to formulate an opinion where it didn't instow confidence. Now, mind you, though, when you zoom out on the map and then you zoom out again, you see like this branching tree of all these different lieutenants and stuff you can take down. And it started to give me some Mafia 3 flashbacks in a way where I see different quadrants of the world. And I'm going to go there and maybe they will have different activities for me to do. But that was one area I didn't have a lot of issue with, actually. Was what I was getting on about one of the positives is that I really liked how I was in the middle of just gathering some intel. And they were like, steal that helicopter.
Yeah.
And you get this. I was like, fuck yeah, I need to get out of here anyway. I'm going to take this helicopter instead. And so I like that dynamic design where it kind of just popped up and it was a surprise. None of the objectives really, and mind you, when I say objectives, I'm talking about what the game had you doing for missions, felt very samey, which was good. That was good. You'd have one where you'd be shutting down antennas for a tower. You'd have one taking out a convoy. That's the word I was looking for.
Yeah.
Taking out a
very
base.
Mad Max in the convoy stuff. I liked. Yeah. Actually, I liked.
So I did like that, and I could see a lot of good co-op fun here, like taking on a convoy with friends. I mean, I imagine that's a blast.
Yeah.
That sounds like a lot of fun. It's just my concern is, let's say I go to this section of the map, then this one, then this one. Are they all just going to be the same gameplay loops, or maybe certain quadrants of the map will have unique things where maybe there'll be a more marshy swamplands and that'll have to do with more boating missions and stuff. That would be interesting to see.
That would be. I think the only thing is you have to look at game design and make sure that the developer has to make sure that the game loop that you learned at the starting, the mechanisms that you learned in the first hour have to be in some way usable in the 77th hour and in a new location. I bitched about this on my podcast. One of the things that we will not see, because I checked and I wanted to see, sort of what you just said, I would have liked to have seen that each branch of their grouping, so like Matty controls one gang, I control another. Well, we're different type of people. We would train our people different. They would do different things. I wanted to see more differences in the activities therein. Like, is this a cyber fucking, are these hacking, crack sellers? Do I need to do something a little bit different here? It's all going to be, no matter what they do, we know what's going to happen. You will shoot people in the face. And that will be the end all be all. And I wish there was more. I wanted, and this is where I thought there was a big gulf in this game. I wanted more activity that wasn't just shooting. It can be a shooting game, but in movies where it's Tom Clancy, they do other things. There's tension. There's not a lot of tension when you say hello to somebody by shooting them in the face. Like the tension goes away. Yeah. And so that did feel samey as hell to me. It's going to be weird, Matt, because like it looks like a massive beyond. When you see the little section you're playing in for the demo and you see like 12 of them or 13. Yeah. So that's the thing is like, will people will they reward over time
What I'm
change?
happy about though is it's a co-op game. We were talking about how there is such a fucking shortage. And
there
so
is,
it is a co-op game, and
it's instant drop in, drop out. I did it.
Yeah, so
like
that's always good. I like the weather in the game. That was really cool too. Just the way.
What'd you think of the graphics? Just overall, overall you were pretty okay with them.
Yeah, definitely. It's a very pretty world. I mean, I always thought it was going to be a pretty game.
What about the animation? The animation when he's going down a hill, he'll turn sideways and he does a side hop that just looked real. Like there was a couple times where I was like, "Fuck, that dude looks like," and his feet didn't do the thing where they cut through the ground.
We've talked about this too. Is that they've always been good with the obscure little things, like you said in the animation loop in Watch Dogs, where it was like never the same with some guy on the side of the street. You know,
it was insane.
It's stuff like that. They show their talent in little ways like that a lot of the time, and it can be easy to miss for a lot of gamers. But yeah, I agree that
mixed bag. I guess we've come to the conclusion, right?
Yeah,
mixed bag
for sure. Let's get on to some topic though that Lone can actually talk about. March 3rd is going to be a busy day. We got the Nintendo Switch, but it seems Warner Brothers doesn't give a fuck because they're going to be they are teasing a new game announcement for that day. Let's have our guess based off the image itself, which said save the date, March 3rd. It had more of a bluish, dark blue kind of color scheme, hinting at either what looked like the gothic type of Batman or Shadow of Mordor 2.
I want to say Shadow of Mordor, but it looks Batman, to be honest.
Dude, if they do another Batman game, I mean, I fucking love the Batman games, but I also, just the thought of it, it's almost like Fallout in a way where it's like, the thought of it is like, just give it a break. But I know the second they announce it, I'll be like, okay, I'm on board. Let's do this. You know what I'm saying? Have you ever had that feeling with a game where, like, before its potential announcement, you're like, oh, man, I don't know if I'm going to be excited. And then like, when it gets announced, you're probably going to find that excitement deep down within you. Because that's the beauty of games. I think it's going to be Shadow of Mordor 2, though. I really do.
It kind of looks like, I want to send you guys a link of this, like someone tweeted it out, and it kind of looks like this Batman image. Not really, but like the same color scheme. Mm-hmm. So have a look at that and see what you think. But I would like it to be Shadow of Mordor because I'm about to play that game, and I'm a huge Lord of the Rings fan, even though it's two different stories. But yeah,
that game.
I like that game. I didn't love it.
Oh wait, no. I'm sorry. I'm thinking of the handheld. The handheld version.
Of course you're thinking of the fucking
Arkham Origins.
Did you play that on your
I'm
Vita,
sorry,
Matty?
no, because I agree. I think Arkham Origins is criminally underrated. I like that game. But
okay,
it's just that they're paired up against the rest of Rocksteady, so it's just an unfair fight. But yeah, the handheld one, Blackgate or something like that. Christ, I hated that game. That's what I can say I hated. I just did not like that game.
I mean, is there any chance of this being not Batman and not Shadow of Mordor?
That was actually what I was just going to ask. Is like if not, I think another grimdark game would be a little bit like boring. I mean, I don't know. It's so exact, the color schemes and stuff for either one of those two. It'd be weird to see a third one.
I mean, here's the thing: is that Batman? When was Arkham Knight was 2015? Holy shit!
It was 2015. Yeah.
I was just about to say that was last year. Damn. So there's been enough time for space for an announcement. I mean,
go ahead.
I'm just thinking, like, do you think they're thinking we've done 3 Batman games? Maybe we should do something else, and that they're not working on a Batman game?
Well, I think Lone brought up sales prior to the podcast starting. I think it was on this podcast where he was bringing up sales. Did Mordor sell enough to do, because it was critically liked by many, but like, how did it sell? Because you have to decide, do you have this studio do Batman, which is probably going to do well, or do you have them do Mordor, and you have to look at the sales? I don't know the sales of Mordor. I know a lot of people liked it. I personally think it doesn't make sense for me to be Batman. I don't know why. I think it's probably because it feels so close.
So it hasn't been time to miss Batman.
Yeah, to me it feels like Mordor. But I got a lot of rumors about the Damian version of a new Batman, where like there were a lot of rumors hitting just recently about it. So there's that too. I mean,
so I'm looking. Oh god, I was trying to look at VG charts, which is not obviously reliable. What? It's not reliable at all. But even if we're going to take that as like an incredibly rough guide, let's say 5 million units. Let's say it sold 5 million.
Then that's more than enough for a sequel.
That's
Jesus,
way more than enough. That's more than I expected.
It's almost double. I was thinking at most 2 million. But it had a ton of huge sales too. So
it also sold on old gen consoles as well. So
yeah. Oh, true. Yeah, 360 version and
I would love to see a sequel. Karak and I are in the same mind that we enjoyed it a lot, but also I felt the Nemesis system was not designed for people who were decent at video games, where I didn't die except for maybe once, so I was never able to exact the full potential of the Nemesis system, where I wasn't developing a fucking rivalry with anyone because I was fucking busy cutting all their heads off. Like, I didn't have I had a couple moments where I did have to run away, and they'd say, like, yeah, run, and you'd go back and kill them. But, like, they were so few and far between that it really had little impact on me. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And so I'm hoping, I mean, that's the other thing. We have to consider that, it could be Batman, but that team hasn't done anything since Shadow of Mordor 1. It's been about 4 years now. A little bit more.
Okay, wait. So that same...
I don't think Monolith has done anything.
Yeah, that's true. Then I mean, you would assume, I hope it's not something else. You would assume it is. Or, does somebody do something that's
anything since Mordor?
Well, since they own the Batman IP, do they do something crazy and don't do Batman in a game that we expect, and don't do Shadow Mordor, but do like a Batman that's different? Is it a adventure game? Is it Tomb Raider? People building on the success of the Tomb Raider, Uncharted, and we're going to do a more of a, I don't know what you would call it, because they're sort of like that already, but less open world. We're going to do something different. Like, it could just be I've got surprised before where I'm like, oh yeah, it'll definitely be this, and they're all
it very well
Nickelodeon Battle Crashers.
I mean, this is the same team. I'm looking at some of their games. I mean, they did Fear 2. They did Condemned. They did Gotham City Imposters.
If it was Condemned, I would shit myself if it was Condemned 3.
They did Guardians of Middle Earth, which I think was like a strategy game. They did Matrix Online. I mean, they've done a mixed bag of games on top of what we were just recently talking about, Middle Earth, Shadow of Mordor. So, I mean, from them, it could be anything, really. It's not a guarantee that it would be Middle Earth, and I guess that's where we'd have sales play into account, where we can narrow down more like, okay, it sold enough for a sequel, or no, it didn't.
Yeah, I mean, if it's anywhere near what VG, what is it called?
VG charts, but
VG
that's
charts.
not reliable. And
I know it's not,
They
but I'm
say
saying
5?
even close.
Did they say 5?
They said 5.7, and I said 5 as a
even if it's
underestimate.
2, even if it's way off, and it's
that's
2.
what I was saying. Is even if it's 2
Although,
in this day and age.
Do you remember? It was with Tomb Raider, and it sold
very
like
successful. 5.7.
Tomb Raider sold several million copies, and they weren't happy with the number of copies sold.
That's
Maybe
true.
Warner Bros. Is of the same mind.
It could
I want
be.
to try
I
and get
mean,
the specific.
just because I look at it this way, BioShock Infinite was technically successful. I think it sold 7 or 8 million.
No, Lone's right. Steam Spy alone, so just Steam sales alone, is looking at around 2.5 million.
Wow.
Just on Steam.
Right.
So copies on the consoles, including old gen, that would make total sense.
So with
5
Tomb Raider, it was apparently in the first month it sold 3.5 million copies, and Square Enix was expecting 6 million. So, who really knows with numbers
And then
nowadays?
you look at Rise of the Tomb Raider. Oh my god. What a colossal fuck up.
Wait a minute. Wait, what?
Not the game.
Oh, okay.
No, the sales and when they decided to sell that game.
Yeah, gotcha. For
Go-
sure. Yeah,
going
it's a
against
Titanfall
Fallout
2
4.
moment.
Yeah, going against Fallout 4. We got this. That's like running. It's like running at like a fucking army of dudes with guns, and there's 100 of them, and you have one switchblade.
It was the exclusivity thing that was the game that was exclusive on Xbox One and PC for a year, right?
Yeah.
1 year.
Yeah.
But even
so-
when it came
and,
to PS4, they said the sales were still very bad. It's just
But
Yeah.
missed
of
its
course they
window.
were.
It
Of
just
course,
missed
it
its
was
window.
a year after the game. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, my opinion is, if you're gonna go exclusive, go all the way. Like, even though I wasn't happy about Street Fighter V being exclusive to PS4, it still makes more sense than kind of having something that comes in a year, anyways.
Yeah.
But that's just my opinion.
It's temporary.
Yeah, maybe a month. Do like Call of Duty DLC, but
Yeah. How about
Wasn't that fun?
Obsidian? Recently, Furious Urquhart, we've mentioned him a couple times on the cast so far, did a talk with IGN, and they really just opened up a can of worms on
Yeah.
all those canceled games they've gone. And, I mean, there are some of them that really stick out. We found out there was a second canceled Fallout 3.
Yep.
Yep, they're not Van Buren, ladies and gentlemen, that a lot of people know about. There's gameplay out for that now. There was a 3D like open Fallout 3 that was in development from Interplay. So here's what I found interesting when I heard that bit of news. I was like, a lot of people are saying, and I have a video on this coming out Monday. A lot of people are sitting there thinking like, oh my god, if it didn't go to Bethesda, it wouldn't have gone open world, and we would have never had to deal with Fallout getting casualized. It was going open either way.
It was.
Is what I learned from that. I was like, it was going to be 3D no matter what. It was just the natural progression of the franchise. And, I mean, the team that is beloved for creating that franchise was taking it in that direction anyway. So it really makes you think.
And to be honest, it annoys me a little bit when people are like, oh, Bethesda ruined Fallout. I'm sorry, they saved Fallout. There was a reason why Interplay sold Fallout.
Yeah.
Like, they weren't making money. They were in dire straits.
Fallout's a mainstream name now. Everyone knows Fallout now.
It is.
Everyone
Like,
knows what
and
Fallout
if that's
is.
not, if it's not the Fallout that you
That is
liked,
success.
well, sorry. It's successful. It's
That is,
successful,
yeah.
and something needed to happen because it was being sold. The company was in fucking so much debt.
Well, I think
it wasn't possible.
that's probably like an immaturity when it comes to the understanding lineage of a title. You can, when you get into the part where it's super popular, people start to think it's always been popular. It's just like when I say, if somebody just jumps into gaming, they don't care about Far Cry 3, they care about the new Far Cry that's coming out. So there's that issue. But I have to say this, and I want to know if you guys agree. He did ruin some fan arguments that I see on forums that I thought were hilarious. And when you talk to developers, a lot of times you hear something, but you see it on a forum where somebody will say something else and you'll be like, that's not what developers are saying. Like, how does this rumor get propagated? And some of the stuff he said was hilarious, like the open world Fallout things. I just loved how he was like, yeah, no. Or like and he was like, I got to make something clear here when it comes to like the review score for Fallout for New Vegas when it hit the 84. That contract bonus was not something we asked for. It was something the company just randomly added, who was paying us. So yeah, it sucked we didn't get it, but we didn't ask for it. Like we had no, that wasn't something we want. And it was just sort of funny because I know everybody's like, I blame this and I can't believe. And even though he probably wanted the bonus, it was cool to have him. He's always been known as being stand-up, and being like, this is the truth of the matter. And I loved some of his sort of debunking and adding data both ways to the discussion. It was fantastic. Yeah, Ryan McCafferty does awesome interviews, by the way.
I love him. Yeah, he's great.
Dude, yeah.
He but what I found interesting when he was talking about that was that he was like, yeah, we didn't even need it. He's like, would it have been nice? Sure. He's like, yeah, but we didn't. That wasn't gonna like keep our doors open or anything. He's like, we didn't need that extra money. He's like, it doesn't. He's like, we don't lose sleep over it or anything. Because myself included, when you first look at the story just based off the information before this interview, it looked like Obsidian made the game. They were just a point below the Metacritic they needed, and Bethesda was like, sorry, we're not going to give you it, and it made Bethesda look like a bunch of assholes. Still, in a like Fergus said in the interview, as an act of maybe good faith and a good partnership and long term. Yeah. Working together again down the line, it would have been probably the smart idea to go, here's your bonus. But like
contracts,
he also mentioned,
man.
I was just about to say, like he also mentioned, there's contracts. I don't think people know about a lot of the paperwork behind all of these games and stuff. Or maybe even if Bethesda said, we want to do this, maybe the contract binded them where they could not do it, or else they'd be breaking said contract. Yeah. Lone, I know, and I'm sure, Karak, you as well, you're both probably way more familiar with that field than I am. But yeah, it's just that I liked how, like you said, Karak, he really cleared up a lot of stuff. Let's talk more about some of the canceled games, though. There was a Aliens one he mentioned with Sega.
Yeah, it was.
That's interesting.
Not it was Aliens, not Purgatory. Damn it! I watched the review. I can't remember the name, but
it's Purgatory.
Yeah, Purgatory. That'd be awesome.
You said there was like a skill tree as you like customize your own alien and stuff. Like it was really different. He said,
and how hard it was to make. Did you watch that part?
Yeah,
where he was talking about the animation. He's like, aliens are hard because you get this huge creature and it tries to turn in a doorway this big, and you're trying to do the animation. He was like, aliens are tough, which was cool for him to sort of admit some of the difficulties.
What are other games? Because I only watched that portion to tell you
the Dark Alliance 2 thingy.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, they were going to make and what's really fucking funny is not only have I recently played Diablo 3, so I'm into that style of game as of late, but I was like looking at older games. So I was watching old Dark Alliance gameplay from the Baldur's Gate games. I was watching Champions to Arms. I'm watching all these old over-the-top Gauntlet-style games, and then all of a sudden, here comes out, they were making a fucking Star Wars version of it from Obsidian. I was just like, oh my god, like that. I didn't realize how badly I needed that until they said it.
Yeah.
That sounds fucking fantastic to me. I love those types of games. I mean, imagine a Diablo kind of skill tree in a sense where you R2's your lightning spell. Jesus Christ, lightning force power. I can't believe I just said that. Stuff along those lines. I mean, you could really make a cool Star Wars game that way, and I never thought about it until now. Man, cancellations are tough.
Yeah,
there was a launch
Lone,
title.
do you have anything to add?
Sorry?
I was just saying, Lone, did you have anything to add to that? Like,
I never got into Baldur's Gate, to be honest.
Oh, that's what I was going to ask. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. Shut up, Matty. Piece of shit.
What'd you do? Tell him he sucked?
Yeah.
Hey, we all have our Far Cry Primal or our Battlefield Hardline, and sometimes we're smart like him, and he just decides not to play the game. Yeah. He's like, no, I'm just.
Exactly.
Maddie and I are like, let's experiment with stupid.
Yeah, let's see.
But
let's fucking get into this.
Lone is just like, guys, I may be younger than you. In fact, I was born a year before Karak graduated, fucker. But he's smart, He's intelligent.
That fact still blows my mind.
Mine too.
Yeah.
What is this Xbox launch title though? I'm very curious about this.
Yeah, Storm Chasers. It was it became Tyranny, which I played, loved by the way. If you get a chance, play Tyranny. But it was a lot of it. He said the themes somewhat transferred over to Tyranny, but it was about a world of post-apocalyptic with storms, being an evil guy in charge. What would happen if evil won? So when that didn't work out for Microsoft, they went on and kickstarted the Tyranny. But what was interesting is he said the reason why it was considered so negative, he didn't like the way Microsoft handled it because they switched his executive connection to Microsoft out. And so the person who replaced the person who was championing, how do you say that?
Championing.
Championing. Yeah, fuck it, whatever. Was gone. And so he said the person who took over had no political clout in Microsoft and couldn't push the title, and it got canceled over time. He said that sort of sucked, and it was tied to a loss of people because they lost that money. But what was interesting is how much got into tyranny. Like when he started talking about, he tried to say not a lot did, but like once he broke it down, the major parts that make tyranny what it is were in that game. And so it was very cool because Ryan even asked, Ryan's like, well, do you get to return to an idea? Because you've had a lot of canceled games. Have you ever gone back at Aliens or whatever? And that's when he brought up tyranny. And he's like, well, actually tyranny is us going back to a prior, IP and getting it out for people. Very cool. Yeah.
That is very cool.
Very cool.
Were there any other canceled ones he mentioned? I was just disappointed he didn't talk about some of the other Star Wars ideas he's pitched.
Oh, he did say, that's one thing he said is, that's why I liked, you know some developers, myself, sometimes they know stories that like fans just don't hear. They know the difficulties. And that was one of the cool things is he talked about how many of his pitches have not succeeded and how difficult it was to pitch. And like, he said, there are so many games that have not been made or have been canceled that people will never know about. That people probably should, so that they can educate themselves to how hard it is to get a game made, and how those things come together. It was just Ryan knows his shit. He knows how to get people to talk, and he's comfortable with people. And it was cool to hear him sit there and talk about all these games. Yeah, it wasn't all about the canceled games. In fact, Ryan waited until the end. The rest, well, no, he didn't actually. It was just that it was very positive. Like we hear canceled, and I think you and I think, can't you've been canceled, but instead it was more like these are just business opportunities that didn't work out, which allowed us to do Fallout. And he talks all about that. It's very cool. Yeah, very cool. Great guy.
Yeah. Anyway, next bit of news. Just wanted to briefly talk some Star Wars because I didn't get much from that conversation. Battlefront 2 is releasing holiday 2017.
It has
Sounds
a campaign?
about right. Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Does it have Star Wars fighting in it, like starships, space?
The way they're making it sound, I mean, this game's getting the weirdest form of marketing because it's coming from like earnings calls and like fucking discussions amongst EA itself, not like, they're reporting to the press. Here's what's coming in Battlefront 2 because the game hasn't been officially announced. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like just people are like, yeah, Battlefront 2 is coming. Okay. And I'm optimistic, which I hate myself for it because it's like
Matty, you've done this before. Yeah. You're gonna get into it. You're not gonna like it. You're gonna make an angry YouTube video. You can get a bunch of dislikes and be like, "Why do people not like my YouTube videos?"
Whoa,
it's just rinse and repeat.
Whoa. When the hell did I say that? When did I do that?
I'm joking.
No,
that's Lone projecting.
Yeah, that's Lone. Yeah, that's what I say. That's a Freudian slip right there, motherfucker.
Because Lone just said that. He's like, I got to figure out what's going on my channel, blah, blah, blah. He just, he just projected onto you.
Yeah. He's just like, this is how I view what you tell me when you bring a problem to my fucking doorstep.
This is all psychology here, where there's a subtle game going on amongst all of us. We're just trying to ruin each other's day, but be nice and smile about it.
That's so fantastic. I love it.
All right, asshole. Anyway, so... I have to say though, what I don't like is how they're making it. I hate this with multiplayer games. Is when they make it sound like it's a huge fucking deal that they got a campaign in, when that was the standard in the industry. I get that budgets change. I get that it costs a lot more to make a game nowadays. But I don't like when it's made a big deal. Like, yep, we're adding a campaign in this one. It's like, fuck, you're late. That happens all the time. It's like, I mean, because here's the thing: is I'd be a hypocrite to be like, fuck multiplayer only games. I love Overwatch to death, But it's more so just that I don't like when it's made a big deal out of the campaign actually being in the title, because I think that should be included. Unless you're doing an Overwatch, which is like we're devoting all our resources and focus into multiplayer to make a good multiplayer experience, which I think they succeeded at.
Yeah, or Brink. I mean.
Yeah, I heard that. then you get some fucking pile of dog shit.
Hey, Matt, Lone, are you a fan of Battlefront, Star Wars Battlefront?
No, not really, because I'm not much of a Star Wars fan myself, to be honest. Like, I never really got into the movies. Yeah.
okay.
Unfortunately, I know. But I will probably play this just for the sake that it has a campaign. And we all know what it's going to be. It's probably going to be like a 6-hour campaign, and then all the focus is going to be on
it's a dice
multiplayer.
campaign. It's going to be...
Yeah.
Dice's best was Battlefield 1, and even I thought, like, that was... Okay.
That was weird, though. Like, I prefer campaigns that are not just like, here's 6 missions.
So do
also.
I.
Yeah, because it was like they were good stories and they started strong. You're like, okay, I can get into this, and then it's like, oh, that really.
It's just no continuity
before it started.
Yeah, I didn't like, and probably what was there was good, but I like one story.
Because the way they marketed Battlefield 1, not to get off track, is that the story sounded like it was going to be a World at War kind of thing, where you're hopping between armies and this concurrent story. Yeah. And I was like, that sounds great. That's what I said. I was like, I'm on board with that. That's fucking awesome.
Hire Kiefer Sutherland, have him come in, do some voiceovers. World at War 2.
Yes.
God, that game. I'm sorry. World at War and Airborne, Medal of Honor Airborne, are like 2 of my favorite shooters of all time.
Dude, Medal of Honor Airborne.
When they were like, when you die, you jump out of airplanes. And I was like, wait, the respawn is in it. Like, to me, there were so many new ideas. And I was just like, this is the most fantastic fucking thing.
I loved Airborne, man. That was a great game. I agree with you entirely. Medal of Honor in general. Rising Sun. Oh my god, the first Medal of Honor Frontline. Oh my god, dude, you just fucking rolled me back.
And that's the lineage of like games that are awesome. That even though, once again, arguing with myself, even though I say that people should like respect that people want to do new things, that there's a long lineage. So when they bring that name up, if they said World at War II and it wasn't exactly what I wanted, you can bet I'd be pitchforking the fuck out of them just like anybody else.
That's the thing, is sometimes the focus gets on innovation so much that I think they forget that sometimes simple is good. I think Battlefield 1 is very simple, and that's why it's good, where you see a lot of big first-person shooters on the multiplayer marketplace are all about movement options, hopping off with your jetpack and shit, and then you look at a Battlefield 1, it's like, that's a palate cleanser. It's like, yes, that's just very... boots on the ground soldiers.
I think though that's more of just how gamers in the industry are feeling nowadays, because for a while we had those simple multiplayer games.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
And then it became very futuristic sci-fi, and people were like, all right, now we're sick of this. Let's change back. And that's, I think, Battlefield 1 did so well, because it was like, you know what, we're going back to basics. Let's go back to a military shooter and just have foresight. This game that's fun. Yeah,
they did. They had great anticipation of the market.
Unfortunately, they also made a stunning number of errors. And like I was hoping, I got a good game, but I was hoping for some real World War I versus like fucking machine guns and stuff. Like there was a couple different technology things that bothered me about it. But it was overall, it was a great game because it was fairly simple, at least in its, there was like just in its overall what you're going to do the moment the countdown is done and you're in the game. Like there wasn't what button do I need to press to do? It was, you just pull the trigger at whoever's moving and hope they're the enemy. So it worked. It worked. Well, Star Wars, I have to ask you, Mandy. So Star Wars Battlefield 2, sorry. You're talking about campaign. We say it's hard to make and stuff like that. Let's say they had made that game, but the campaign was each level that you play in the campaign with some narrative cutscenes, but not any bigger. So all those levels, the exact same size, multiplayer level, but then with like story bits in there. Is that a campaign to you, or do you want to see?
I'm confused. I'm confused.
Sorry.
Are you saying like a multiplayer that like almost like a Titanfall 1?
No, I'm saying would it be good enough to you if you had bought Star Wars Battlefront 1, Battlefield 1, Battlefront, and the campaign was there, but the campaign, all it was, or not all it was, but what it was the levels that you played that are available right now in multiplayer just had story bits in them, cutscenes and people walking around and scripted events in them. Because we talk about the difficulty of making a campaign, how it costs a lot, but when you're making multiplayer, you have some assets that you can reuse. So I was just wondering what your thought process is.
That's a good question, because I look at it as I view, the original Battlefront campaigns were that, they were the multiplayer maps with structured objectives to play in. And Lord of the Rings Conquest did that. Yeah, for me, when I thought of a Battlefront campaign, I was expecting something along the lines of the Battlefield games, where it was you'd see the inspiration for the map and of the multiplayer map, like you'd see Hoth, for example, and but you'd be in a different place on Hoth from where the multiplayer battle's taking place. Maybe, and this is what I like about some games that or single player games that connect to the multiplayer in a weird way, where they're like, yeah, there's a battle going on outside. That's technically the multiplayer battle going on. Mm-hmm. I like when games do that. But for me, yes, you consider that a campaign technically, because that's what they're dignifying as, this is our story, this is our campaign mode. Out of my enjoyment, I don't think that style has aged well at all. Slapping in your multiplayer maps that you'll play, because then it feels like almost a drawn out tutorial. Like I'm being introduced to what I'm really going to be spending all my time in. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but you know what? I felt Battlefield 1 story was like that. That's why I asked. Because Lone
that might
said
have been why I wasn't
he wasn't
fan
huge
of it.
into the campaign. Yeah,
that might have been why, because it felt very familiar. Because I'd played, for example, 10-ish hours of the beta, and then the first campaign I jumped into, or the first war story,
was on that map.
That map, and I was like, you were blowing up the train. I'm like, I've done this before. But
yeah, exactly.
I also liked how there were certain times where it showed a lot of potential, like the level opened up and you went to 3 different bases and you stealthed your way in. I like that a lot.
But it's not like that kind of concept can't work. I remember, I think it was Modern Warfare 2, where you do play as different characters and you do go in different worlds and different missions and have these different things that you're doing, but it's all one story. It's all tied together in one continuous way, kind of.
Yeah, if they did a Call of Duty style mission or mission structure for a shooter campaign in Battlefront, I don't think I'd be terribly against that.
Yeah.
I know it's very hard to tell a unique story in the Star Wars universe, I'd imagine. What I'd say their goal is with a Battlefront story is to maybe get you to feel for, like they did with Battlefield 1, get you to feel for the common soldier who doesn't get his name mentioned, like a Darth Vader or Luke Skywalker or whatever. Which I think
here's Podunk McGillicuddy. Yeah. And then they kill him.
Yeah. I mean, they kind of did that in Episode 7 with Finn. He was technically just another Imperial soldier, much bigger than that now. Yeah, like I said, I'm expecting just a Battlefield-esque campaign with a Battlefront
fair enough.
layer or skin slapped on top of it.
I'll say that I agree and think the same, but boy, would I love it if they knocked that shit out of the park with a 12-hour fucking massive shooter campaign, go into planets you don't see in multiplayer, maybe later in DLC.
I would love that.
I imagine if they were like, or let's just dream, you could be a good guy or a bad guy, and you could play. If they were like landing in a fucking stormtrooper, carrier. Yeah,
that'd be sweet.
What about Galactic Conquest coming back?
Yeah, that would be amazing. It was awesome.
That was fun because that was a mix of tactics off the battlefield, and on the battlefield, it was your standard Battlefront gameplay. I mean, I can't stress enough, because here's the thing: is Battlefront is accessible to a lot of gamers. This would be a cool way to bridge gamers into a new type of gameplay where it's like not just the sit down shooting and all that stuff. I mean, man, Galactic Conquest, that is such a unique. There's still never been a mode like that in a video game I can think of.
Yeah, I think there was one of the, not the free, but like Brink or like Dirty Bomb. There was one game that was like that did have a little bit of the Galactic overview, but it was more a smaller overview. But I don't think anything has gone that way. But I don't know if that's because they don't think it works or if it's so hard. I mean, I wonder if it's difficult to implement over a multiplayer structure. Because if I remember right, the changes you made affected people playing multiplayer.
In Batman Galactic Conquest?
Yeah.
Did that maybe in the PSP titles? Not that was. I mean, that sounds like Mass Effect 3's multiplayer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's actually exactly what I was thinking in the back of my mind. Because I can't remember. It's been a long time since I played that.
Yeah. But anyway, I mean, I'm definitely curious on how this game's gonna pan out. Do you think they're announcing this officially at Star Wars Celebration like they did with Battlefront 1, or do you think they're doing E3 short marketing campaign hype cycle?
Go for it, Lone.
I don't know. It's hard to say, to be honest.
That's what I've been struggling with too. I'm gonna say, for the sake that they've done it before, they're gonna do it at Celebration. That's just my guess.
What day is that?
That's in April. I think
so,
it's April.
where? When is this game actually released?
Or is it May 4th? Like, May the 4th be with you. It might be.
When is the game releasing, Lone? I think it's releasing holiday 2017, so most likely November, I would assume.
Okay, interesting.
So
we don't even have a confirmed date yet.
No, which also begs the question, does this get delayed?
Star
if
Wars
something
Celebration
happens,
is April 13th to the 16th. I just verified.
Okay, interesting.
Karak, you think it's...
I in all honesty, I think that they probably do it. I mean, again, gaming entertainment's huge, so do it at like Celebration and just announce it and get it out.
And then the reveal,
it seems
like,
weird
gameplay-wise at E3.
Yeah, because they've leaked, like you said, it's the way this is getting. We're just all guessing because the way the information's got out. Yeah. So at some point they have to tell us it's actually coming, or we're going to be in line going, "I hope it's here today." So there's that. But yeah, and then E3 blow it out of the park with like a campaign. By the way, I'm saying this right now.
Just have another campaign trailer,
and show people this. On screen, I'm playing it with my whatever, or my your mouse keyboard, but show somebody playing the campaign, have an epic moment where you come out of the bottom of a Star Destroyer in your fucking starship, or in your stormtrooper fucking carrier, land on a planet, full voiced. That would capture my attention.
Yeah, show something different from what we've seen before.
Yeah, and or show some really good space battles, because even though they've got it now in the main game, I'm still not incredibly impressed with them. I hope that there's a lot of rethinking on how space works in those games and how the fighting works. Like, it doesn't feel as robust.
Ground to space, man. Ground to space.
Oh yeah, Jesus, dude, that would be amazing.
They got to do it.
Yeah,
that was a big takeaway. I think that was a big thing to remove, because it brought that feeling of the battle is not just on the ground.
Just here.
That there's something totally different going on above, and that you'd see like ships spiraling downwards and stuff. Like, it was fucking epic. It brought a sense of battle.
I have a question for you guys. Are you guys big proponents of additional AI extras in games?
I've
struggled with
that so much, man. You're talking like Titanfall, for example, where you'd have the grunts walking around in AI, and they're kind of like
or in that battle when you have shit falling down, does it always have to be another player? Because if people are really good, maybe they're not falling down, and so your game feels less action.
Are you talking about in multiplayer? If I like bots?
Even both. Well, even both. Yeah. First of all, let's talk about multiplayer. Like in multiplayer, do you like leveling out with bots where you have like 8 people? And okay, gotcha. No.
With Titanfall 1, I like, they're easy kills, fine, and I get why they're there. I don't like the feeling. Like, there are two sides to this. One, it's even more satisfying when you do kill an actual player as opposed to killing another bot, right? But I feel like it just takes away from the fact that they're not other players. There's not that satisfaction when you get that kill, and I think it's just mundane. I prefer there not being any bots at all.
For me, it kind of.
By the way, the reason why I asked this before Matty answers, so you can add to this, I ask because I'm very tired of them saying multiplayer when there's like 32 people. That's not multiplayer. Like, I want to see fucking. If you're talking stormtroopers and rebels, I would like to see a lot of people in those battles in this next one. So AI lets that happen without connection issues and stuff.
Yeah, that's true. That is true.
The way that I view it is, it sounds weird to say it breaks me out of the moment, because in multiplayer you can see some real crazy shit from players that'll totally break you out of your moment. But for me, it's like when I see, because obviously that they're just there as almost like fucking fodder. They're just free kills.
They're like filler, to be honest.
They're there for free kills, points, to make shitty players feel good, and to bring a sense of battle, which for me, I see this AI just standing there like fucking looking around, just doing absolutely jack shit, just staying there. I see it even in Titanfall 2. For me, I just see it, I'm like, what are you doing? Like, if this is a real sense of battle, shouldn't these grunts be like clashing at each other? They don't seem to have an urgency to take cover, and it's because it takes a lot to do that, to make them read like, okay, I'm getting shot at, I need to run the cover and stuff. And so for me, I just feel like it's wasted effort almost.
Gotcha. And it's not even just that, though.
I mean, it could just benefit somewhere else.
You look at Titanfall, right? And if the AI were kind of like moving with every other normal player, that's fine. But the way that would spawn in is in these fucking pods that would drop from the sky, and then they would all go out in groups of 5, and that's usually how you kill them. Yeah, that's not fun. You know what I mean? Like they're always like usually. group together. That's not fun to me. If they managed to find a way to seamlessly integrate bots with real life players, so they would move as one and they would, not just be in groups of people, that would be better. But I didn't see that in Titanfall 1, and I don't know if that's going to be the case in Battlefront.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to be a good mechanic. I'm not a fan of it, and especially because at least Battlefront kind of got it close. You had those 32v32 battles. At least that's pretty close. I want to see 64 versus 64, like
minimum for me. But yeah, I'm a. I like it. Have either one of you
must have
played
loved? What was that game on PS3? Did like 100
Planetfall 2?
No. I mean, that one was huge. But I'm saying,
huge,
I think it was called like Mag or something like that.
Oh, Mag! Fucking hell, that's
holy shit! That's a blast from the past.
Wasn't that like that game with like 130 versus 130 or some shit? Like it was a huge.
It was.
Match.
I think it was Mag. Yeah, I think it was Mag.
Shit.
So AI, I agree with you guys. I love the idea of doing it with good AI. Unreal 1999 still fooled me because they would shit talk you. And they would leap and jump, and so I thought they were real. Oh yeah, I told the story on my podcast. I played Unreal 1999 by myself, thinking I was online because this was one of the first major games I got for almost 2 days, thinking that somehow I was like the buttons
same with
messed
Battlefront
up.
1 though. I played Battlefront 1 offline, and my friend's like, "Yo, you playing kids online?" I was like, "Yeah, these kids suck. I'm trashing them." I'm like,
"Oh." So what happened with me is they were leaping. So you can actually, in 1999, you can actually adjust their jumpiness, and so they'll do a lot of. So they're like, "You suck," and I'm all, "I guess I do." Like this guy's flipping. Who the fuck are these people, and why are they so? And I saw the options that indicated it was single player, but it didn't matter because there was such they were different. I've never seen a bot like Unreal 1999. And I mean, I've done bot AI before, and I've never seen a bot. Like that was some insanely fun for the time, bot AI. I see what you're saying, but it was funny because we were talking to an AI developer for an Xbox One game, a shooter, Brute Force, the shitty Halo ripoff with the big 4 people could play. It was a 4-player co-op. You could have a team. Did very poorly, but he was saying that one problem with bots is that in a multiplayer game, because he's now working on a multiplayer game, if they're moving, if players are moving the way players want to move currently in the current game scheme of things with like digital fucking sports and all that stuff, he said the bots would have it would make no sense because the bots can't follow a guy running on the walls. Or they could, but then too many people would be running on the walls. And what happens is the bots are told to sort of, stick here. Because if Matty runs by and they say, I'm going to follow Matty, and then Karak runs by at full speed, and then they say, I'm going to follow Karak, you get this. And so what they do is they turn down their decisions per cycle. And I wish they didn't, because players don't play that way. Dude, I've played against players, and they're all, and they're shooting, and they're killing people. And they're on Ritalin, and you're like, wow, this is insane. Well, guess what? You know what? Allow me to turn the craziness up on my bots. And another reason is I know a lot of people who want a game that they can buy and don't need to be connected. I'm very tired of games where somebody buys a fucking game and what it really should say is doesn't work with a shit unless you're connected to the internet.
Yeah.
Or half the game works. Fuck you, half the game works. It's time to get past that. Make your multiplayer have some bots so people can play single player if they don't have internet, whatever.
Yeah, bots are fine if you can't play online.
Yeah, some of those things just bother me. As a consumer, as somebody who's like fighting for consumers to get shit, it happens a lot. And of course, Star Wars, the first one was that. It was like you can't do shit. So
yeah, until they patched in bots.
Yes,
fun. Anyway, one last bit of news is that we have a price for the Nintendo Switch Online. I don't even know. Is there like a special name for their service, or is it just that?
Don't know what it's called, to be honest.
Regardless, $17 a year. And I actually when you guys told me that, I asked you again. I was like, wait, a year? Just to verify.
Yeah, I was like, is that a month?
Yeah, that's what I thought. Because Nintendo would do that a month.
Yeah.
So,
which is
does this
really
cover
cheap.
Does this cover the app too? That stupid application.
Premium includes the app for the phone.
Okay.
But apparently, though, that the app is not the only way, apparently anyways, to talk to people, because there were some rumors around about how the microphone actually works on the Switch. So I don't think you need to use the app to talk to people, which hopefully that's the case. We don't know that yet. But back to the price point, $17 is pretty good for an entire year, and that now makes sense when we knew about. We found out about how you can't keep the games that you're playing every month that they give you for free, right, quote unquote. But so that $17 price point does make a bit more sense. Absolutely. Probably down the line, they'll increase that price, and maybe you get to keep the games. I don't know. Nintendo tend to be protective with their IPs, so it's an okay price point. It just depends, how it is. It's much cheaper compared to Xbox Live and PSN, but obviously there's no comparison. There would be no comparison between those services.
Yeah.
I still think it's silly that they don't let you keep a game from like fucking 1992. They're just like, yeah, but sorry, guy.
But the thing is, though, Nintendo still out of. I guess Xbox has backwards compatibility now, but Nintendo is always pushing their back catalog of games with Virtual Console, and they do it better than anyone else.
Buying them again. That's one of the problems, though. They force you to buy them.
I know that's a problem, but in the sense of every console that they have, they always have the Virtual Console.
Sure.
And Nintendo has, I think it was Reggie. He said, man, we know that people have spent thousands of dollars sometimes in some instances on games in the Virtual Console on the Wii U, and they're trying to address that. Maybe they'll bring a cheaper version, or maybe they'll let you transfer your games. Who really knows? But right. I guess the point that I'm saying is not necessarily that it's fair or not, but the fact is that every time there's a new console, they always had that Virtual Console, pretty much, anyways, and they do that better than.
Has anyone ever said something to you and it just reminds you of a dream you had?
Oh yeah.
I just remembered I had
Chipmunks
a dream
and peanut butter
last night that that Nintendo the day, because I read it must be because like dreams are like culminated from just shit you see, of course, and I remember reading a comment. And this is in real life, mind you. So, someone saying like Nintendo's going to announce the real Switch the day it comes out.
Oh no, that was me.
Oh, it was you?
Yeah, it was going to be a joke. We said it was going to be this joke, and that when the Switch is released that day, they'll actually be like, "Gotcha, the real Switch is coming."
And then I went to bed and I had a dream, and I just remembered it now because just Lone was talking about Virtual Console. And I started thinking about the GameCube. That I just remembered I had a dream that like Nintendo announced on the day the Switch came out, they called it the Super GameCube or some shit like that. It was like this fucking like teal box, and I remember like reading through tweets online, someone was like, "It's such a cute box." I'm like, this would be something that would happen. I just get this.
There's even a handle to carry it too.
Yeah. Yeah. Even back then, we were thinking of ways to take your games on the go. Dude,
God!
If you caught me carrying around a fucking GameCube by a handle, I want you to rip that shit out of my hand and beat me the fuck over the head with it.
Fantastic.
I don't know about the Switch, man. I don't want to sound. I don't know. It's weird though. You said I think it's Warner Brothers is doing their announcement the same day as the Switch is releasing, right?
Because they're not intimidated.
No, I was gonna say they're releasing the exact same amount of games that are cool to play.
Oh,
I'm done with Zelda. Bang. I mean, I like Zelda, but I am done with that being the only game. The fact that there's no Metroid is fucking so stunning. The fact that Mario Kart's not ready.
That's been such a vocal thing.
Yeah,
and then they do Federation Force.
Well, and here's why, Matty, because Lone just said it. Lone just said, he's like, well, they're good at their backwards compatibility, all that stuff, and they are. But they handle their own IPs horribly. It's like Conan Exiles, where you can, I don't know if you guys have just played it, but you can basically die of thirst while standing in the water. And that's what Nintendo is doing. They have a bunch of IPs, and they fucking are like, we don't have anything to release. What? Like, you have so much
And I'll
be
honest, as someone like before that Switch presentation, I was so excited for this thing. And I still am a little bit, but...
Yeah, me too.
Not just because the presentation was a bit lackluster, but they do have a lack of games for this console. And there was an interview the other day, they were talking about how it's important to, like, obviously have games out on release, but have a game release every now and again from launch to kind of, I guess, pick interest back up again in the console. So maybe that's why they're spacing out their releases a little bit more than what they are. But even then, I think it's up to 10 games now.
Their April title is ARMS. That looks cool. I'm just saying, though, that's not going to sell you a system.
It looks cool, but it's not a system seller.
The way I mean, here's the thing, is that they should do Metroid, because if anything, I just look at Overwatch and how much that sold, and it shows that if your idea is good enough, that it will sell. And I know it's such a weird connection, but I'm just saying that if they made Metroid a actual because you can play it. It's the first Metroid Prime, for example, first-person shooter. And imagine making that nowadays with the tech available.
Yeah, right.
And how cool it would look and how action-packed you can make it, really. And I think that would appeal to a lot of gamers nowadays. It's like, oh shit, Nintendo, I'd say Metroid is a very recognizable name to gamers old and new. And I think Nintendo could bring in a lot of potential consumers, because here's the thing is that, and I'm not saying it in a bad way, but first person is, I think, very accessible. I think there's a reason a lot of people will make games in first person. It's just an accessible genre. It's more appealing. And you could have this big Nintendo first person shooter. Splatoon's not going to fucking sell you systems. That's your big multiplayer shooter, sure. But, you could have this big first person shooter title that will sell consoles without a doubt. Not just to Nintendo fans, but people will go like, that looks fucking awesome.
Yeah.
To be honest, what they really need to do is bring Overwatch to the Switch. It would work so well.
It would,
to be honest.
It fits their artistic schemes.
Oh my god.
It fits their artistic values really, really heavily, and that's actually why I've always felt like Overwatch would fit on the Switch fine.
And you could still play it with the two Joy-Cons separately in the bumpers. It would work pretty well, to be honest. It'll be an Overwatch version that real casual people play, but who cares? It's fun.
Dude, I would cry. If I could literally go,
you would cry.
If I could literally go and take a shit and play Overwatch on my toilet.
Did you see that Nintendo
I would be
Super Bowl ad?
So fucking satisfied with that.
In the Super Bowl ad, they had someone sitting on the toilet and playing the Switch. I was like, Nintendo, you get me?
Yeah, they do. They're like, we know.
You guys need to eat more fucking fiber, man, because I couldn't even get through an entire level in the shitter. I don't sit there and discuss fucking theory, man. It's like go in, do your business. Get back out.
Well, yeah,
I sit on the toilet for 30 minutes and think about life, to be honest.
Exactly. Are you just like, you're Twittering and shit? You're like, hey, Karak, what are you doing?
Yeah,
my channel. I'm going to project back onto Matty. My channel.
I literally have a viewer who tweets at me every time he's watching a video informing me that he waits to watch my videos when he has to take a shit. Like, you'll see I uploaded. And he will only watch them when he's shitting. He's like,
mad shit.
He's like another video watched while taking a dump, Maddie. I'm like, good job.
Exactly.
What a true
Golfer's
fan.
clap.
Brilliant.
Yeah. No, it's Switch is going to be cool in that it's going to be Nintendo's foray into this, but I'm not. I just there's so many issues now that I'm just so nervous.
They said it's going to sell more than the Wii. That's their expectation.
Bullshit. No way.
And who said this? Nintendo's president.
No, I don't think that there's no way this thing is selling more. Like, if the PS4 can't sell more than the Wii, and I think eventually it might, the Switch ain't selling more than the PS4.
Absolutely.
There's no way. Absolutely not. Because the Wii was a weird phenomenon. Like, it was a lot of people, a lot of parents, a lot of elderly people buying that for Wii Sports, and then the attach rate for that console wasn't that great. I don't think the Switch is overtaking the Wii.
No, never.
I mean, to me that it could, but there's a far higher chance that it won't.
Yeah, there's always a possibility.
There's a possibility.
Like a 90-10. That's how I view it. It's a 90-10.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I would say less, but I mean, I've been wrong because I was wrong about the Wii. Even though I knew about motion controls and I knew that they were popular, the Wii just launched at a perfect. Its name was goofy. I remember people like, the Wii. You're playing with your Wii? It didn't matter. It didn't matter because people were like, yes, I am, and I'm having fun. Shut the fuck up. So that could happen again.
The Wii sold over 100 million units, and the PS4 sold 50 million units.
And PS4 had a roaring start.
But it's still selling well in Europe and in some parts of Asia. It's still doing very, very well. Xbox One's catching up in North America, but the PS4 is still selling stupidly well.
PS4 has more of a global presence. Xbox sucks, for example, in Japan. It's awful.
Yeah, Japan. Yeah, it's
the amount of games that PS4 brings that are the games Matty like.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what's popular there is the Vita. The Vita holds the dominant market of Japan, and that is forever successful because of that.
The words Vita and dominant don't go together, Matty. All right, just tie it back.
Debatable. There's a reason it's still supported. Thank you very much. The Wii U stopped before the Vita. I win.
Sure. Yeah.
Listen to that shit, man.
I win.
Dropping bombs.
Yeah, because they announced they're like, we're done supporting the Wii U. I was like, damn. I mean, I'm not surprised, but
they did, didn't they? Holy shit, I forgot about that.
Yeah. But there's clearly a reason the Vita's still getting support, man. I don't know, Lone. Can't be too dead. Can't be too dead.
Look, Matty, just move to Japan so you can have those Vita stores that are
I
like
need to visit Japan one day,
stores.
man. I'll be so at home.
That's
Like,
so
my
brilliant.
people.
No.
My
Maybe,
people.
but yeah.
Some kid with orange hair. Yeah, my people.
Exactly. there's a couple
Dude, you'll be
differences,
like
but hey,
this tall white guy walking through Asia.
as long as you close your eyes, you'll be right. So,
Yeah.
just be like, I can't see you, you can't see me, we're the same. When it comes to the Switch, I do have to ask you guys real quick. Do you feel that, and I may have hinted at this last podcast, and if I asked it, Maddie, I apologize because Lone wasn't there, so he could answer this. Do you guys wish they had announced this as the 3DS successor that also plays at home instead of the way they did? Because I do. I think that would have made a huge difference.
No, because the reason why I say that, the 3DS is a different thing. I view it as a different thing. Like, Nintendo says the Switch is predominantly a home console first that you can take on the go. The games that come out on the 3DS don't appeal to me aside from Pokemon, right? Like, the games on the 3DS aren't your blockbuster AAA titles that you see on the Xbox One and PS4. So I didn't want that message confused. Right, like now I understand that the Switch is a home console. You're getting the big blockbuster titles. If they tried to spin it that it was a successor to the 3DS, then I would have that expectation that those games that were released on the 3DS would then come to the Switch, and that's not what I wanted to see. Those aren't the games that I wanted to play. I don't really want to play those handheld games aside from Pokemon. That's my view.
It's just a mixed message, man. Because you look at it, and it's like. I think what they're trying to do is like Switch is like, oh, it's console gaming, but you can take that console on the go. But it's like, wait, you have a console that is for on the go, which is the 3DS. What do you mean? And it's like, no, we mean like those big console games. And it's like, well, you only have Zelda, Skyrim. There's no like big third parties coming on board. Oh, FIFA. Sorry. I'm
looking for
mixed messages, really. Where they're insisting, though, I read an article recently, they're insisting, like, no, this is not replacing 3DS. They're going to continue making games for it. And I think that's because of the functionality of the system, where the 3DS has the dual screens, you got a bottom touchpad, where the Switch is very much going to be, if you pay fucking $80, then you can get the Pro Controller, which is very much the console experience.
Those controllers are so expensive.
Didn't even bother. I'm going to try to fuck with the Joy-Cons. I'm going to see how that goes.
The reason why I asked too is because the Wii U is the 3DS is considered a success. Wii U is not, and so coming off of a success, it just seemed to me like if somebody said, "Dude, this portable plugs in and can also play on your TV," then the graphical capabilities that it's currently displaying would make more sense than saying and it's set up too. The lack of USB external storage, it sounds like there's some issues there with just different little weirdnesses. It would have made much more sense. Yeah, it would have made much more sense in my brain, by the way. That's why I'm asking everybody else, like, because my brain, a lot of
I don't know, like, maybe they didn't want to mess with the success of the 3DS because on its own, it is successful, right?
Yeah,
and
that's true.
I mean, they've released so many different versions.
And announcing a new console to replace it may not be the best bet.
Yeah, they were even talking about bringing out a successor to the 3DS, and
the 4DS.
I'm sure that's in there, but they definitely have it planned.
Four screens.
I have the.
Wouldn't that be awesome, dude?
That would be pretty sweet. It's like a fucking transformer.
Like those snake Rubik's cubes you used to be able to get. You're like, you flip it this way, and now it's 4 fucking screens, and you could like play Simon Says and shit. But other than that,
I have the newest version of 3DS. Like it's it's called the new 3DS. Actually, brilliant fucking marketing. I know.
Bigger, right?
And it's bigger, but it's got like the little C stick up here, which I have not played a game that has used this yet. And I actually use my DS a fair amount. And
it has better specs as well, doesn't it?
Yes, it's more powerful. No games used the 3D slider. Like Pokemon didn't even use 3D at all. Like if you slide it up,
and that's weird because the 3D effect is actually better.
It's very good. On this, it's a lot better. It doesn't give you fucking headaches, and you can look at it from like the side or whatever, and it'll still be in 3D.
What that is 3D was just a gimmick. That's why 3D TVs are out the door now.
Yeah.
So
and it's got the back cameras here, which I think have always been there. It's got a bigger stylus. The cartridge thing is on the bottom, out of the way, so that you're not playing and accidentally fucking pop out your game. It's a well-designed system, but also they've re-released the 3DS so many times that it's like, are they in this rabbit hole now where they can't announce another 3DS without it sounding like just another successor that most will ignore?
And go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, like, the 3DS, I'm checking now, it's sold 65 million units. It's just, and this is selling 65 million units through a time where people are saying that I don't need a dedicated gaming console, a handheld gaming console. I've got my phone, and it's still doing that well. It's
very
right, but that's what I'm saying. So the 3DS 2 or whatever Matty's got is in that collection. Why, if they called the Switch the 3DS 3, it's just your 3DS, but it's now the Switch. Like, that's so. I don't think the new 3DS being announced stopped the old one from being sold. I don't necessarily think the Switch would suddenly stop the 3DS.
I just think it's different. It's different marketing. It's the audience that trying to appeal to. And
I gotcha. Yeah.
The way they were talking about the Switch is it's a predominantly a home console that you can just take on the go. Like, to be honest, it's like taking it on the go, even though they focus on it a lot, because we haven't really seen these bigger AAA games being able to be taken on the go. But it's still not the predominant selling point of the console. I think most people play AAA games, and they like to play AAA games while they're at home. As much as they like to promote the fact that, young adults, they travel all the time and they fly and stuff. I do that, but not many people do that, right? Like, most people are going to be playing this thing, even if it's in their hand, they're still going to be at home most of the time.
Nintendo thinks we all live in Dubai and fucking Scrooge McDuck, we're the money, and we're like, when you're on the go, flying from one CEO meeting to the next, take the Nintendo Switch. And you're like, motherfucker, I walk like 3 feet to my shitter. I take 1 minute. You guys apparently take 12 hours. And then I return. But you're right, because like Skyrim, for example, I don't know how comfortable I get Matty. I know where he's coming from because he's super excited for those kind of games on full console. But I don't know if I'd be comfortable after a while, because I'm not incredibly comfortable, I think, holding a handheld over time. Like, comfortable physically. Like, after a while where I'm sitting, I'm like...
I'm not going to lie. This sounds ridiculous, but, like, for example, if I play console games a lot and I go for a long period of time without going into handheld, and then I go back and play a lot of handheld, like, I'll get cramps here, like, in my thumb.
Yeah, right in the thumb pad. Yeah. Okay, gotcha. Well, I'm not the only one then.
Yeah, it'll happen. And you, like, build up a durability to it, and then it just stops.
Okay.
It's crazy, So I can see, and it's also just the comfortability. You're constantly fucking, like, adjusting your seat and, like, getting comfortable again and again and again. So, yeah, handheld gaming is comfortable in a way where I like to just kick up my fucking feet on my bed, because I usually game, like, right in the screen. So it's a lot easier just to put my feet up on the bed and just rest it in my lap.
Just fucking 1 inch from the screen. And
instead of being a couple of, like, feet, I'm, like, 2 inches. So it's a lot more relaxing, guys. But seriously, it's just, I also like handheld gaming just because of that. It's just a comfort factor of laying in my bed rather than sitting in a desk chair or something.
And to be honest, like, the way I see this going down is people are going to be, playing the Switch docked on the TV, and just think, for the sake of it, I feel like going to bed, like going to my bed, not even sleeping. I just want a change of scenery. Sure. And then they'll just take the Switch out. But you know what I mean? Like, if I'm on the PC, like, I don't like sitting on the PC for 2 or 3 hours longer than that, because it's just so uncomfortable. Even though you're sitting on a couch, it's a console. I can imagine people thinking, I want to go outside and play now. I think the Switch is really going to be used in that regard, and not necessarily being taken on the go, because while many, like, if you're living in a big city like I do, you commute, but not many people do that, to be honest. And if people commute, maybe they're driving, so they can't play on a train or a bus anyway.
Yeah.
So
interesting.
Yeah, there's a lot of, like, exactly. Like, how long do you travel? Are you walking the entire time? Because you shouldn't be playing your fucking Nintendo Switch if you're walking, right? Like, great. That's just what we need, is somebody to fall in a fucking manhole. But yeah. I mean, it's just going to be super interesting to see who uses it for what. I can't wait to see, like, their metrics, like, because they'll probably be like 70% of people who played have taken a 3-hour shit. I want to see those kind of metrics.
I would love to see surveys.
Times and toilets have increased.
Yeah. Man, it's so odd. It's exactly Skyrim save game lengths. We don't know why.
It's brilliant. But they obviously, they probably will do that. And I would love to see those surveys come out as to the kinds of way people use the Switch for. Mm-hmm. There's going to be a split between community, split between people that just want to play it on the handheld for a little bit. It's going to be really cool. I'm interested for that.
I'll admit, I mean, part of it's the excitement of a new console. I am very much looking forward to it, though. Like I said, I'm not. It's more so because, and I hate to say it, because I do criticize it a lot. Like Karak says, I'm arguing with myself. But Zelda, I'm not a Zelda fan, so to actually be excited for a Zelda title is a first for me ever. So
can't wait to get back to Zelda.
Aside from Twilight Princess, Zelda.
Matty, and this just seems like a Zelda that you would like because it's an influence of Skyrim. That's the reality.
That's the reality of it. Yeah. But it's also that I love Link. Like, here's how bad of a Zelda fan I am: is that my introduction to Link and Zelda was Smash Bros.
Oh, fuck off.
Yeah.
Piss off, Matty.
Yeah. Like, that's when I got I was like, yo, Link's sick. He's got a fucking sword. I love his hair. His outfit's cool. And I was just like, I gotta play as him. And I was like, what? They got a game based off him? And I played. I'm like, yeah, these suck.
Link is always a shit player in Smash Brothers. He's always screwed over.
What?
He has a terrible recovery. Come on, Matty.
I am so good with Link, bro. But on the polar opposite, like, if I were to actually play competitively, I'd be Zero Suit Samus.
Well, there you go.
Fast
realize that Link isn't that good.
He's got some heavy swings, bro.
I'm interested to see what kind of tier Link is with Smash Brothers.
Oh, he's probably low. I gotta be honest, though.
Yeah. Anyways.
Regardless, though, that's all the news we have for this week. It's our longest podcast in a while. 2 hours, 15 minutes.
Oh, are you kidding?
Yeah.
Oh, that's insane.
You don't have anywhere to go, do you? Like,
no, I just feel bad. I know some people don't like podcasts that long. Hopefully people watching this.
Our hardcore listeners are fucking...
It doesn't feel like 2 hours. That felt like 40 minutes, man.
Yeah.
Like, that was a lot of laughing.
Last time I've had a window up. Last time I checked the time, it was like 52. I'm like, oh, we're great on time. And I'm like, oh boy, we're getting late here. But anyway, we hope you guys enjoyed this episode, man. This is a great one.
Very much so. Yeah, that was a blast.
And a lot of different variety in the discussions, too. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. That works really well.
Yeah, so we hope you guys enjoyed. Any final thoughts, boys?
No, see you next week.
Cool.
Yeah,
no, I did want to say, like, from a personal perspective, I can't wait for this year because I'm, like, missing no podcast now. There's no more traveling, no more doing long distance. Can't wait.
Are you also happy to not travel?
I am. Like, I like travel, but there's an extent because it means I can't game. It means I can't do, like, the podcast, for example. It gets, like, if I ever travel back home, it's easy for me to take a microphone. Yeah, and I usually do that.
Now that you mention it, I mean, you've been talking about this day coming up since we met.
2 years.
Since we met, dude. Like, when we started this show off, you've been traveling and telling me about your long distance relationship. So it's kind of crazy that a lot of that's coming to a close. That you're finally settled down.
I know, man. It feels weird, but I'm so looking forward to it. It's just going to be great being able to have weekends free for forever. Like, unless it's for work, I don't really have a reason to travel.
Yeah. Cool. Holy shit. Yeah, congrats. That's awesome.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So more podcasts for me. That's the main point I guess I wanted to get across.
Huh?
Oh, jeez. Now we got to listen to Lone.
Anyway, guys, hope you enjoyed episode 94 of the podcast, and we will catch you next week.
Peace out.